Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University. I'm here with Showmonger and Blerd Without Fear. We are the podcast. We didn't make a name for this. I think I just called it off the cuff because last week it really was.
We'll
I
work
don't
on
know.
it.
We're working. We're the podcast in progress, mother fat heads.
We're
Yeah.
Professor Bill Monger without fear.
Yes, I like that. The fearless Billmongers.
I like it. I'm here for it. Make the t-shirts.
Oh man. Okay, so listen. All right, let's get started with some of the good stuff. We're going to start off with the movies. Is that what we're doing?
Mhm.
Okay, well, fine. Then you know what? No, I don't want to do that. I want to start off with the C2E2 stuff.
Uh,
I want to start off with the C2E2 stuff because there really wasn't that much there. Like so far at the very least. This is Saturday night. Maybe something surprise is going to happen on a Sunday, but I mean, this seems like a really boring one. They're talking about Swords of X. Chill, you had something to say about this.
what the 10 of swords is that how it's pronounced?
It's 10 of
10
swords.
Swords. Yeah.
And on the promotional image, there's more than 10 people.
Yeah, there are.
But-
I'm wondering.
But it's the 10 swords. That's the deal.
Do you know
Supposed to
something?
be like the
Oh yeah.
tarot.
There's going to be 10 legendary swords in the Marvel
Mhm.
universe. So kind of like Fear itself, like 8 hammers just dropped, and people are like, "Arr!" and they start talking in runes, and it's like, what the frink? You know what I'm saying? So Wolverine was on the front cover of one with the Muramasa blade. That was an
Yep.
easy fix. That was like, oh, gotcha. Magic was there. She had a very different kind of sword than her typical
Yeah.
Dark Child. What's the name of her sword? The Soul Sword?
Yeah,
It's
Soul
just nice and
Sword.
simple Soul Sword. Sounds like Michael Moorcock's Elric of Milne Bonet. What do you call it? And like maybe the Ebony Blade will be there. Scott Summers, Cyclops, he had a freaking dark saber in his hand. I'm like,
Yeah.
bam, Thunder the Barbarian.
Well, it was like it was like him, Storm. They both had like lightsaber-like swords that seemed to channel energy that is most commonly associated. Like his look almost like his optic blast, but like Storm's look like the lightning that she usually calls down. And I think Iceman literally had just a giant ice lance sword thing or something. The thing I thought was strange though is that not every character on that poster was a mutant. One of them was Brian Braddock, which I thought was interesting. But Teenie Howard is co-writing this, so that kind of makes sense.
So it's Jonathan Hickman and Teenie Howard. I don't know how much I feel. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Teenie Howard's writing. That's a personal thing, and it's not like I dislike her. I think that I'm sure she's a very fine, wonderful person. I just didn't get used to her writing style very quickly. I've literally never read any of her comics that I liked until like issue 6, I guess it was, of Excalibur. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to understand her writing style a little bit better. I don't feel like she's changed it. So it's not like she's gotten better for me. It's just I'm getting used to it. So, yeah, an acquired taste.
I'm not the biggest fan of hack and slash or hack slash, however it's worded.
Hack slash.
But I don't hate it either. I read it here and there every now and again if I see an issue that catches my eye or saw an issue that caught my eye. But
I've never read it personally.
The Excalibur book, the thing about the Excalibur book is like I don't hate what she's doing. It's just that like because so full disclosure. So of the 6 new X-Men titles that came out, the original 6 in Dawn of X, I felt like Excalibur, New Mutants, and Fallen Angels had the least to do with what was going on with like Krakoa.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's kind of why I kind of like, because I was like, well, I want more of Krakoa. I don't want this other thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I think that was kind of my, like, I don't, like, I still, even though I don't cover it on the channel very much anymore, I still enjoy Excalibur, but like, there's just nothing like, it's just kind of like okay, it's a thing I read. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. But I'm hoping that changes. I want to like it because I like her as a person. She's a really nice person in all the interviews I've seen her do.
No, I haven't even seen any interviews.
She seems like a really cool person.
Yeah, by her Twitter, I think she's a Wiccan, which is like cool. That's something I can relate to. That I've known plenty of Wiccans.
What's a Wiccan?
It's a modern day magic user, like a witch.
What does it mean though?
It's basically like you consider it a religion of some sort.
Yeah.
There's certain magical orders out there that are not even denominations, just people who actually believe in magic, not like hocus pocus, boof, stuff like that. But they'll follow like the Ordo Templi Orientis that Aleister Crowley created, the Golden Dawn, which he came from. Israel Regardie wrote the most about that. Just basically like it's and how do you explain entire religion? There's black magic. Well, actually, in Wicca, there's a triple goddess. So yeah, it's a belief system of like, and you could worship Tiamat or Isis as your goddess. You know what I'm saying? And it could be gods, whatever. But yeah. There's
a lot of religions going
white
around.
Magic, which is you actually do cast spells, but it's not like Harry Potter stuff. What do you call it? White magic is supposed to be anything that only affects you, which can include personal healing, whatever, anything, something for luck for the day or something, calming your emotions. And then there's black magic where you're actually affecting others, which could be like, a pox or a hex or cursing someone. But believe it or not, black magic can also include trying to heal someone else, because it's white magic is personal, black magic is affecting others. Yeah, it's a interesting thing. Anyway, the way I look at it is if Hickman trusts her, I trust Hickman, so I trust his judgment. So I'm good for it. I'll check it out. It's going to be 15 parts. 15 parts.
Spanning across all of the Dawn of X titles.
That is what crushes my soul.
Yeah.
I would rather this be a completely separate event. I hate it when they start gerrymandering in stories. It's like if I was writing an X-Men book and they were just like, okay, now we're going to do this, I'd be like, yeah, I'm kind of pissed. Even if I knew about it in advance, I'd be like, dude, I just got my stride and now I got to start writing about freaking swords and popsicle sticks. Like, what are you doing to me?
Here's the one thing I think that's kind of the interesting takeaway from it. I know the swords, like the actual physical manifestation of the swords, is going to be what a lot of people are going to kind of focus on. But one of the things I think is really interesting about this is that it's actually it's also a callback to Powers of 10 with the tarot that they used in that, because the 10 of Swords is basically like a card. That denotes destruct, like the not so much destruction, but basically ruin and disaster. And basically the whole idea is that like something is going, and they make it very clear that it's not like a human threat. It's a very potentially supernatural or maybe alien. They use the term otherworldly or something along those lines. But
paranormal, right?
Yeah, like some kind of paranormal threat. But they basically make it sound as though like this is going to be something that could potentially destroy everything that they have built, and that somewhere in there they are going to meet their mystical destiny, whatever that means.
Well, that's interesting, because it wasn't until I think it was Chillmonger who said to me 10 of Swords, because I apparently got the name wrong. It's been
to be fair, a lot
time.
of articles actually miswrote it.
That's probably what happened.
There was a lot of X. There was a lot of Swords of X going around.
Yeah, because I actually used to use the tarot deck. I didn't use like the Llewellyn's deck or anything like that. But like back when I was senior in high school, I used to actually play around with all that good stuff. But I played with the deck of Thoth, so which is Egyptian. The reading here, the 10 of Swords description. The 10 of Swords shows a man lying face down, apparently dead, with 10 swords in his back. A red cape drapes over his lower half of his body as a sign of dignity as he leaves this world. While the dark sky is ominous, the sun is risen on the horizon. Yeah, what the hell does it mean, jackass? Like, what are you doing here? Upright, it means painful endings, deep wounds, betrayal, loss, and crisis. Reversed, recovery, regeneration, resisting, an inevitable end. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's been forever since I've used a tarot deck, so I can't even remember. Like, I couldn't do anybody's reading right now.
I wouldn't
But,
even try.
Yeah, right. But no, I used to be like really good at it, but nowadays I'm just like Ten of Swords. Yeah, that's one of them, and the Ten of Cups. Shoot, I don't remember how all these work. So that nice one.
I would be about as effective at reading your tarot as Miss Cleo.
Miss Cleo.
I can't believe you went back. I'm surprised you even know who Miss Cleo is. Wow.
Oh, I used to skip a lot of school, and those commercials were always on.
Wow.
You were watching Maury?
Yep. Well, that and like Judge Judy and
Judge Judy
and Divorce Court.
Judge Judy Shineland. I remember Divorce Court when it was William P. Keene, I think his name was. It all sucked after that.
Oh, they have so many different variations of it now. You don't want to know.
And I found out Jerry Springer was fake.
Very. It's very fake.
Oh,
so staged. It was not even funny.
So after that, there was a panel with C.B. Cebulski, Al Ewing was there, Donny Cates was there, and a whole bunch of people were there. Most of them really didn't have anything impressive to say whatsoever, including Cates. I hate to say it, but Ewing had the most important thing to say. What do you call it? Immortal Hulk issue number 33 is going to equate to legacy numbering 750. So there he's going to increase the body horror. He's going to be bringing back what he used to do with this stuff. He's going to be increasing the body horror to a level that's he's going to try and make us vomit, basically. It's going to be 40 pages long. Bennett is going to be drawing 30 of those pages. I forget who's drawing the other 10 pages, but yeah, it really wasn't that important to me. It was just, this. So it seems like they've noticed the dip in sales and they decided to go back to the stories that they were telling prior to issue number 25, where it's like Cosmic Hulk Comet thing, which was really freaking weird. Aside from that, Jeff Lemire is going to be writing the Hulk, the Threshing Place, and he refuses to tell Al Ewing what it's going to be about. The only thing he says is it's going to take place in the past. So all those rumors about Hulk's new son, no, not true at all. It's going to be about one. It's apparently going to be about one of his other kids. So,
yeah, okay, all right.
I'm concerned about him not telling Al Ewing what he's going to write. What's with the secrecy?
It's a one shot, so it doesn't really matter.
But still, to not tell him.
It was just the Tom Taylor one recently, and it really didn't have anything to do with anything. So it's like,
okay.
I commented when I did that video review for that Tom Taylor Hulk one shot, whatever it was called. I was like, yeah, so Jeff Lemire is going to be doing one called The Threshing Place, and I don't know how good it's going to be because Jeff Lemire is usually only good when he's telling a long story. His short stories usually aren't that great. But
when's the last time Jeff Lemire wrote for Marvel?
I don't know. It has been a while. Right now, he's still writing the questions.
Okay.
He wrote the first volume of the solo Thanos series. That's the last thing I read of his. Actually, no. I think.
Are you saying the one that Donny Cates eventually came on?
Yeah, it was the one that Cates eventually did. That was the last thing of his that I had read.
Okay.
For Marvel. For Marvel.
Where he had the Well of Infinity or something like that.
Yeah, it was. I forget the exact name, but yeah, there was like and they even used it kind of recently. But yeah, it was like something of Infinity or whatever. He fought his son with the Phoenix Force and some other shit.
Yeah, all that good stuff. Yeah, that was okay, and it's something that could be used also. But I remember actually commenting on that. I'm like, you're really just going to start throwing in more Marvel Cosmos stuff? Like, don't we have enough? So,
there's a lot of Marvel Cosmic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know.
Almost too much.
Here's for me pretty big news. Ta-Nehisi Coates, his run on the Black Panther is about to end with issue number 25.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That breaks my heart.
I figured. Who picks it back up? Jim Zub, Eve Ewing?
I don't know if anybody's even going to pick it up right away. They might just let it ride for a little while.
I would
that's
like
not
it
happening.
if Eve. I like it if Eve got her hands on it. I would like to see what Eve could do with it.
See what the Wellspring of Power is doing over there in Wakanda.
I mean, considering she dropped that thread, I feel like that's hers to pick up.
Dropped which thread?
In Ironheart, she was the one that kind of threw the Wellspring of Power into play for Riri Williams, and she took the series to Wakanda and involved.
The last 4 issues were in Wakanda.
Yeah, last 4 issues she brought in Shuri Okoye. She even, like, it was really weird. I didn't really appreciate it until, like, I really did some more research into it, and I was like, wow, she dug all the way back into some stuff from like 1992. Like, she brought back New Warriors characters like Silhouette and Midnight's Fire. She even went kind of dug back into some of the stuff from the Bendis run on Ironheart with Tomoe.
That was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, like, I mean, like, honestly, right now, Eve Ewing, she has a blank check with me. If they want to put somebody on Black Panther, I would not be upset if they said, hey, Eve is going to be running Black Panther for a minute. I'd be like, please give it to her. Let her have it. I want to see what she can do with it. I actually like what she did. I loved her Ironheart. Was like 12 issues she ran on that one.
Why did
she did a really good job?
Why did that end?
12.
Yeah, it was just 12 issues.
It was only meant to be? It was,
I mean, I'm sure if it was a hit, it would have gone more, but it only had 9,000 on Comic-Con at the final issue, so it was sales.
Okay. Which doesn't always mean everything, but I remember falling off that book. I remember when they had the Shuri issues, and I just didn't like it. A problem that I had with Margaret Stoll, who was writing Captain Marvel for a while, right before Kelly Thompson, right after Kelly Sue DeConnick. I tried to jump on because they kept on bringing Carol Danvers into a bunch of other things, and it was like, so I was like, okay, let me try Carol Danvers again. Let me try this Captain Marvel run again, and I just did not like it. 3 times I fell off it, and the thing that I finally wound up realizing is she just doesn't have her comic book writing style down yet. So she's too used to writing her young adult novels. She doesn't have her comic book voice yet. She went crazy when all of a sudden the Life and Death of Captain Marvel came out, or the Life of
the Life of Captain Marvel or something like that.
That was amazing. I loved that.
I like that comic. That was.
I was sad when she wasn't going to continue with the story anymore. And she's coming back to write something else. I can't remember what it is offhand because I wasn't expecting to go into this, but Spider-Man Noir. She's going to be writing Spider-Man Noir. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I'll read it.
No. I like I like the Life of Captain Marvel. I actually did enjoy it. I do agree. I didn't enjoy the other stuff.
Yeah. But that was my thing, is I didn't think she had her voice down for comic books, which is something that I also think with Ta-Nehisi, who's used to writing ridiculously long stories that everybody I talk to about, everybody my wife talks to about, it's like, people just falling off. She's in a bunch of mommy groups on Facebook. And everybody's like, yeah, he just writes and he never really gets anywhere. And by the time he does, I've already fallen asleep. And that's really how I feel with his run there.
And that's why I don't lead Intergalactic Empire.
Yeah, I'm not reading the Captain America stuff either, because I'm just like, I tried so hard. I try to be so positive, but the exact same thing happened with Eve Ewing. And I'm like, she's used to writing these. Oh, and Nnedi Okorafor also, which kills me, because she was writing Shuri. And I'm just like, yes, she's going to write a great book. And I was like, nope, I was completely disappointed. It was boring. I couldn't stay with it.
Yeah.
If I'm the only man in this guy, this conversation who thinks that way, okay, so be it. But
no, I dropped Shuri also. I made it to issue number 8, and I said, no.
I didn't get very far with Shuri, but I have read every volume so far since Coates took over Black Panther. And that's all going all the way back to like 2016. So like A Nation Under Our Feet, book 1, 2, 3,
I
and so on and so forth.
Nation Under Our Feet. I thought
like
that was amazing.
Yeah. And the thing is, yeah, he's kind of a slow. And this is something I tell people all the time. I was like, I did a video recently on it. And a lot of that came up like, oh yeah, I didn't know where it was going, or I didn't understand it, or it was kind of slow. And it's like, and then once like I kind of show people what was going on, they're like, oh, okay, now I see what's going on. It's like, yeah, it's the whole thing about the whole intergalactic empire of Wakanda and all that stuff. Like they don't even the story with that one, it's a little weird, and it doesn't even really, the reveal isn't even really made about like why all this is going on until you get to like the end of like the second volume. Or I guess technically in that case, I think it would be like 7 or 8, volume 6 or 7 or whatever. But like it's like issue 11 in that run, I think, which he does like he does 6-issue volumes, but
which kills me. I watched that video. I commented on it. You responded.
I saw.
Yeah. And I know Chillmonger, you watch it too, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching it. It was good, and I definitely highly, this is not just me saying it because he's here. In fact, mute yourself for a moment, Blerd. Honestly, go and check the okay, you got to be watching, seeing him put his fingers in his ear with the freaking headphones on. But what do you call it? Like, I highly recommend that video because it made me understand stuff. After I dropped off the book, I'm like, oh, I still don't want to read it, but at least I understand it now. You know?
Yeah, at least it makes some sense.
Right?
Still, it takes too long, man. It's that 6-issue story that we're all complaining about, how they got to fit everything in a trade paperback.
Yeah.
I cannot do it. You know what? You know what else I can't do, which I discovered as I was reading Black Panther: Agents of Wakanda. Going into it, I knew that it would be a part 1, a part 2, and that's the conclusion. A part 1, a part 2. And because I was reading this was the third time they did a part 2, issue number 6. And I'm like halfway through the book and I'm like, I wonder how they're going to end this. I know they're going to end this. So it played with my mind. It was like knowing that the ending is coming. It's like I'm watching a YouTube video and it's a 10-minute video. I'm at minute 9 and I know that it's going to come to an end and it's not going to end with the to be continued. So knowing when these stories end, even if they're not 6, but even when they're 2, and I know they're always going to be 1, 2, 1, 2, hurts my enjoyment of the video book.
I mean, I can totally get it. I'm weird. I'm a long-term booking guy.
We're all kind of weird. So.
I'm a long-term booking guy. So a lot of times, like if it depends. It really depends on who it is, and like I'm very accustomed to Coates' writing style. So like I give it a free pass because I know at the end I'm gonna be happy. But sometimes it's a little dry. But I don't know. I treat Coates the same way I treat like Ed Brubaker.
Oh,
like I know at some point, like he's gonna get to the point, and I'll be happy with it.
I think Brubaker at least gives us better action while we're waiting for the point to be made.
I mean, I don't know about all that. I mean, I've snoozed on some of his books. I've snoozed on them. It just, I mean, but it's different strokes for different folks. That's all.
Yes, yeah.
But I'll defend e-viewing to the end.
I completely. I thought Ironheart was great from issue 1 on out. So.
Did you read her Marvel team up with Spidey and Kamala?
Those 3 issues, right? Yeah, I didn't like that either.
First book where you could flip it and start from one side or the other side.
Yeah, I love that. But it was also like it was a gimmick, and it's like I get it. It was a good gimmick, but now you got to keep me. Like you got me to read the next issue. When I read the next issue, I'm like, wow, this was boring. And I really I almost slept read through the 3rd issue. It just.
I remember all of your criticisms of both Ironheart and Ms. Marvel. The Ironheart one was in Doctor Strange, where she showed up and she looked at the window and she said, "So what? Do I just smash into it?" I laughed because I'm thinking of the movie just came out where the Hulk went in, and you're saying she's a super genius. How could she say something so stupid? What's wrong with e-viewing?
The thing I liked about, and maybe this is just because like I felt a personal connection. But like with issue number 1, the conversation that she had with Xavier, her friend from back home, that's a conversation I've had with actual people. Like hearing her talk about listening to them talk about like their taste in music, talking about which Star Trek that they liked, and just the way that Riri was talking to like her AI Natalie, and then the connection going back to the Bendis run from that to and how Natalie interacted with other people, not just Riri, how like it just, and then also the dynamic between like Riri and like how her relationship with her mother, and just like there was a lot like and then also how Eve tackled the whole PTSD thing from Champions. I was like, Eve had a lot of plates to spin on that one. I thought she handled that bet. Like, the book spoke to me. I don't know.
Those are all things that I complimented her on in the book, and what kept me writing for the first like 6, I think maybe 8 issues. I forget what I stopped on. And I even talked to Zub about that. And he was saying like, Ewing asked a lot of questions. She talked to me about it. She's really into it. And I have full faith that she's going to take care of Riri from this point on. I'm like, okay, I'm down. It got me excited, but I just don't think that at least at the time, when I started reading, I was of the opinion she just didn't have her comic book voice down yet. We are a very different beast here,
Yeah. You're not telling me it's bad because of forced diversity. You're not like the rest.
You didn't say she was a thug. You didn't say it was bad because she was a thug and she's a thief.
Thug. What do you mean it's bad to tell black people they're thugs?
And you know where that comes from, right?
Actually, originally comes from the was it the Pakistanis? Yeah, the Pakistani nation. There were Pakistanis who were Muslim who followed the cult of Kali, and they were called the Thuggies by the British colonizers. And they were asked, well, why did you do this when that's a Hindu god? It's like, well, Allah doesn't say that we can't do it. I'm like, really? This is ridiculous, but okay. That's where it comes from.
Actually, you took it away a different direction. I thought you were going to take it. I was just talking about the whole why they call her a thug.
Oh, my bad. You said, I thought you said, where's the word come from? Like, I just went on you, man.
I know. I was talking about why they call her a thug. Because like she stole the because there was a piece of throwaway dialogue where she said that like she gathered up all the pieces to make her own suit. And she also took parts from some of her classmates. They were like, "Oh, she's a thug. She's a thief.
Like
she's she's a terrible person." Meanwhile, Star-Lord killed a man who would have become Star-Lord so he could become it instead. But we don't
forget about that same damn book, Infamous Iron Man. Yeah. Oh, Riri's a thief. She stole the armor. She's gonna do anything herself. What did Dr. Doom do? He literally walked in while the Tony Stark AI was there and saying, "You're not allowed to take this. Go away. Don't take this stuff." And he's just like, "I'm going to take this anyway, and I'm going to call myself Iron Man." And he's like, no, don't take my identity. Don't do it. And he's like, I'm going to do it anyway. And it's like, nobody's calling him a thug. Nobody's calling him a thief.
Everybody loves Booster Gold. He stole his powers too. That's why I always tell people you're like
brought up Booster Gold. Wow.
Like when I did when I did a video on Riri Williams, actually that was one of my points. I was like, all your favorite heroes stole their powers, and the one I saved, my trump card, Terry McGinnis. Because everyone's always like, "Oh, Batman Beyond." I'm like, well, guess what? Guess what Terry did?
He's a thug.
He's a thug because he stole a prototype batsuit. I don't care if he was given permission later.
That's right.
But he stole it. He's a thief.
Oh man,
how does Terry McGinnis fit into the 5G?
I was like, let me see if I can move this on. Okay, here's something that's going to get blurred. Ernie, you're going to get super happy over this one because I doubt you heard this one. The last bit of info that I've got from C2E2. Kyle Higgins was brought on stage. He's going to be doing this 5-issue run with Matt Groom on art. These two have worked together before. Ultraman, The Rise of Ultraman for Marvel Comics.
Oh.
Say what?
Exactly. Ultraman is coming to the Marvel Comics.
So I have one question and one question only, and I hope that somebody has an answer that I find preferable.
Okay, because that's all the information I have. So anything I do from this point on is guesswork, but hit me.
If there is not a cameo or in some way, shape, form, or fashion, a crossover with Spiderman, And why are we even doing this?
So, like, could we just have Turkish Spider-Man?
No. I want Spider-Man.
You want Spider-Man? All right.
I want the emissary of hell, complete with his leopardon sword, his mech. That is the reason why Super Sentai has had mechs ever since.
Yep.
I want Spider-Man. If there's no Spider-Man, I don't want it.
The whole thing's going to be irrelevant, right?
It's irrelevant. If you look, if Spider-Man does not show up and says, "I am the emissary of hell. It is time for us to fight," I don't want it.
So all the people who are going, "What the hell is Ernie talking about?"
We just got Japanese.
You could literally go and look up like Japanese Spider-Man right now, and you will find exactly what he's talking about.
Yeah, he would always refer to himself like, just like how like you watch Super Sentai or Power Rangers, they do like the poses and they do their roll calls. He would always refer to himself as the emissary of hell, and say he was going to send you to hell. So
the hell spider. Oh man,
he had a leopard. He had a mech named Leopardon because that made sense.
Yep. Well, they eventually did pull that into the Spiderverse.
They did, and he is actually slated to be in the Into the Spider-Verse sequel. He is actually officially confirmed.
That's right. I did hear that. Nice. Okay, so outside of that, there's the Children of the Atom. This is it is both of your favorite thing. Okay, I've actually got some pretty interesting information. Vita Ayala is writing this, of course, and Vita identifies as them. They or them.
Gender non-binary.
Yeah, non-binary. So when I refer to Vita as they or them, that's why I'm doing it. Anyway, Vita is doing this book, and honestly, I don't think there's anything that Vita's ever done that I didn't like. The only book of theirs that I ever dropped off of was Morbius, the Living Vampire, because I was reading too many. I mean, the book is beautiful. It was written really well. I love it, but I can't just keep on reading 30 to 35 books a week. You know, it's like it's too much. So unfortunately, it's like this one's still kind of new. I'm just going to kind of drop off of this because, reasons. But I still love the book. When we're talking about like what is it called? The Age of X, where like all of those, but there were 6 of them. They all sucked except for Prisoner of X. That one was really good. Like that was really good. And that was Vita. There was also the other one by Brisson, which was pretty good also, but Prisoner of X was actually really good. So Vita is going to be doing the Children of the Atom. It's going to drop in April. RB Silva is going to be doing the art. It is about, here's the solicit. It is about diehard X-Men fans who get a chance to become the, quote, ultimate X-Men. Of these individual characters, one is a TikTok performer, the other one is a Twitch streamer, and Vita's going to take advantage of the idea of all these different individuals who are very much relevant today, like the people who do the TikTok and the Twitch and all this other stuff. So it's going to be a modern take. I don't know if they're actually going to be mutants or not, but somehow they get the ability to do that. So it's going to be a very different take on an X-Men book, and explains why the cover looks the way that it does with rip-off characters, more air quotes.
Chill, I'm gonna let you take first crack.
I still do not. This didn't win me over. Again, I didn't read the book yet, so I can't trash it.
So
as long as the powers are copying original Cyclops, Beast, and as long as that's happening, I can't get behind it.
Really? Even if it's like a VR Troopers kind of thing?
Oh,
I knew that was going to get her, and he'd be like, wait, what now?
3 virtual reality?
We are VR.
Yeah, as long as there are no rape allegations behind the scenes, we're all good.
Oh, jeez.
But no,
we were over here, and Ernie just went there.
Hey, I just like to make sure people are aware there was some wild shit going on that set.
There really was.
But no, I am in full agreement with Chill. When I originally saw this book, before they had really said exactly what it was about, and I saw the cover, I thought they had an opportunity to do something really interesting, and I see they are not going that direction. And the thing I was kind of hoping for was that, in Powers of 10, we got, the information
Chimeras.
about. Okay, so Chill and I are on the same page here. So, so Chill knows where I'm going with this. This is what I thought they were doing. I thought this was going to be like, oh, hey, we got chimeras now. Okay, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
Do you want to explain the chimeras really quick for those of us not? I understand exactly what you're talking about, and it sounds good. That actually sounds like, and maybe they could still do that. Maybe this does have something to do with Bar Sinister, and what he's doing.
Yeah.
But
basically, with Sinister, basically what the chimeras are they're essentially mutants, genetically modified in such a way to have multiple X genes. And in Powers of 10, I think by the time we get to was a year 100, they're like on a 4th or 5th generation of chimeras by that point. And one of the I guess the principal characters was like, really they were the only one that was well known. They really booked other than Cardinal was Rasputin, Rasputin 4. And she had the powers. She had the mutant X genes of Kid Omega, Kitty Pryde. Who else? I forget the one of the other
Colossus.
Yeah, there was Colossus
and maybe Magic.
Magic, and there was a 5th one. And it's an obscure mutant whose name I can't remember. But basically, they had like force field type powers. I forget exactly. I can't remember the mutant's name. It's. I could look it up. I just don't care to right now.
Oh, yeah. It was Honest the Untouchable's daughter.
Yes.
Niece.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes. So,
that's why I'm here to fill in the blanks.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Go. See, this is why you're the prof. There was a really interesting backstory to the chimeras, like the whole purpose behind them, like how, characters like Cardinal, who they were the chimeras who were passive and they were kind of looked down upon because they weren't interested in fighting. They didn't have the aggressiveness or the desire to engage in acts of war, so they were considered lesser than characters like Rasputin, who were bred to be, the front lines of Krakoa, which is kind of why I thought the whole 10 of Swords thing was interesting, because I felt like, is this going to be the thing that makes them start to go, hey, maybe we need this. Maybe we do need to build an army. Yeah, and I was kind of thinking, ooh, Children of the Atom, that it's a name that has history for X-Men fans.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds sexy. It sounds good. It sounds like something like, ooh, man, that's a book I could get behind. But now you're giving me this other BS, and I don't really want it.
Joe Monger, anything before I get into it?
I thought there was always a place for the Young Mutants or a book for them. There's so many that are not being used. How about we focus on those kids? Like, not just Kid Omega and X-23. There are a ton of them who are around that 17, 18 age.
Where's Oya?
Where is she? And iBoy, I know he's getting to be on X Factor, and that's, that's a plus. Same with Prodigy. They're using them. But there are so many just chilling on Krakoa. We need books with them. So to create new characters who are, like, there's no doubt in my mind, all 5 of these new mutants will be forgotten and not used 5 years from now. I'm certain of it. Why don't we use the ones already who may have a fan base, collect about 5 of them, put them in one story, and you might actually make sales. That's what I think.
What if? Because they were kind of talking very religiously, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Those like Rasputin 4 and all the
Cardinal specifically, yeah, because he had Nightcrawler's DNA in him.
Yeah. Huh.
Go figure.
We just got finished talking about on X-Men issue number 7 about Nightcrawler maybe making his own religion. And we were talking, you did just interestingly bring up the idea of the fighting ones, the non-fighting ones, and the controversy of Crucible just came up in issue number 7 of X-Men also. You guys see exactly where I'm going with this, right? So what if they are bringing in the Chimeras? What if this is Sinister actually testing out the idea, because they were just talking, I don't know if it was in X-Men 7 or if it was in another book, but they were also talking about, I'm sure that, yeah, it was in X-Men 7, because they're like, oh, if any of us could come back, we'd rather have different powers or multiple powers. I think everybody wants to come back with the body and the powers of Magneto, you know? So what if this is just Sinister's way of testing out the idea of injecting mutant DNA into some people, and why not use humans as guinea pigs?
I mean, if that's the case, I would be interested.
Is that story an ongoing, or is that maybe a couple of books could cover that?
A couple of books could cover that, possibly, but it depends on what Vita's going to do.
I feel like I'm going to say an unpopular thing, or maybe it is popular. I don't know. But okay, let's jot them down. X-Men, X-Force, Marauders, New Mutants, Excalibur. I don't count Fallen Angels, so
Fallen Angels is over.
That's over. So we'll say Wolverine in its place.
Yes.
Then you've got Giant Size X-Men, which is only going to run, I think, for only so many one shots.
Yeah.
Then you've got Cable. You've got Hellions. You've got Children of the Atom.
X Factor.
And then there's X Factor.
And there's the Empire X-Men tie-in.
There's the Empire X-Men tie-ins. And then don't forget, we also are going to be, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some other random book that'll pop up at some point. So, I mean, what you're really looking at is like somewhere between the neighborhood of 11 to 12 books. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm tired. I love X-Men as much as the next person, if not more so. It's one of my favorite things, but that's a lot of X-Men books. It's a lot of X books. I feel like
you've got your own nation, Blerd Koa.
Yeah, I mean, look, we even have a quiet council, of which Chillmonger sits on. And I feel like it's just
that's your moderators.
Yeah, that's my moderators.
I'll be Cyclops in this one. I'll lead a protection team and
be like the captain.
yeah. There you go. I'll be a field captain.
Yeah. But no, I feel like there's too much going on, and I get it. I know that Hickman said that you don't have to read everything. You have to read like maybe 2 or 3 books if you really want to.
Is that going to include when the 10 of Swords thing comes out? Those 15 issues that cross over with everything?
And that's my problem.
Sorry. I didn't mean to step all over you.
No, but you very perfectly came in at the right time to say exactly what I was thinking. It's like, are we gonna do I have to? Because I'm not gonna lie, I have been kind of sneaking and reading New Mutants and Excalibur and all the other stuff, even when I'm not covering them. And there's nothing happening in those books that like seems to have anything to do with anything. Like the last issue of New Mutants.
It was fine.
I mean, it's a fine issue, but it's like,
what's it got to do with the House of X Powers, a 10 story that started? Really nothing.
Nothing. Not a
it's
damn.
It's a story featuring X-Men, not an X-Men story.
Even the previous issue of Excalibur. I mean, I think it's Elsa Bloodstone's brother that gets involved, but beyond that, nothing else.
It is covering the Otherworld stuff, which I could see that potentially. You know, if all of this is just a slow burn, which is weird since there's so many books, then I wonder, could it actually at some point be important? I'm not entirely sure. The New Mutants one is a funny one because you got Brisson and Hickman writing 2 entirely separate stories with each other.
It sounds like the stuff Hickman was writing with the Shi'ar may play a part. If you read the previews for, I think, issue number 8 of X-Men, he'll go up in space and it'll be featured.
Chandahar. Yes.
Except you can't do just a 4-issue story. That doesn't fit in a trade. So they're like, we'll do a New Mutants ongoing series. Here, Ed Brisson has it from here on out. I don't think Hickman's writing another one ever. I think that's it. He just needed it to set up the table so he can write his X-Men story. I see through it. It's not part of the House of X Powers, a 10 story. This is just, I like Boom Boom. I'm Ed Brisson, and he writes a story about it.
Well, and not only that, but I feel like New Mutants falls in the same category as what I felt Fallen Angels did. feel like it's just a bunch of personal stories. Like stories about things that are of a personal nature to very specific characters that don't really have any bearing on anything that's going on in the great wider world. I will say there was one thing I did actually, the thing I thought was probably it made me feel conflicted, but like I actually really liked I can't believe I'm saying this right now. Actually, I can't believe I'm saying this because actually I have a weird appreciation of Sebastian Shaw, but I just always found his character interesting. He's incredibly Weasley right now, which is fine, but I really like the part where like he actually went to the cartels and he flexed on them and he was like, hey, don't mess with us. And I was like, wow, he's standing up for his nation. I mean, granted, he had something to gain from it, but like, I just thought it was interesting that like, considering the booking that he's got in Marauders right now, it seemed almost like, are they trying to give him some redeeming qualities to kind of make us feel conflicted when it's time for him to get his ass kicked later?
Exactly what I was saying.
But yeah, but at the end of the day, it's all stuff that, like, once again, fallen angels. Okay, Quanon can fly now. Bully for her. Don't care. It's a poor man's Ghost in the Shell, and if I want to watch Ghost in the Shell or read Ghost in the Shell, I have plenty of ways to do that.
Yeah, Scarlett Johansson, right?
No,
I'm gonna get my ass whooped now. I did that on purpose for the sake of conversation.
We don't talk about her.
So, Chill, you got anything else with comics?
Probably. I wish you would have told me before so I could have my notes open. You want to talk about number ones? Because I've got statistics more than just opinion. If you look at Deadpool, Guardians, Spiderverse, and Spider-Geddon, if you look at Iron Man 2020 compared to the Dan Slott Iron Man, that first issue, the former all made over 100,000 in sales. And then the latter, it seems like there's this huge drop off. There's a knowledge in the comic book, I guess, retailer market. They know what's going to be a hot number one and what's not going to be a hot number one anymore. There are cases, though, like in X-Force and in Thor that Donny Cates is writing, where this year, or I guess X-Force came out in 2019, but the earlier sold way more than the previous one. So in some cases, the market calls for more. In some cases, most other cases, it's like they know that the new number one is just a gimmick and the customers don't really want it. So there's like half as many sales as there used to be for number one issues.
I'm one of the rare people who actually gets to see a lot of what the comic book retailers get. And no, all they get is stuff from the higher ups in Marvel trying to sell them because proof is in the pudding with Punchline. They didn't know that Punchline was going to be a big seller. They didn't know it was going to be a big character. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sold the retailers wouldn't have bought nearly as many issue 1s and 2s because there are real retailers sitting on these like, what do I do with them now? And then their regular fans couldn't get their hands on issue number 3 because people just came. And this goes back to a conversation you and I had, Chill, 2 weeks ago, where the big marketing thing of like, oh, the cat suddenly got out of the bag, that Punchline was going to have her first appearance, first full appearance, so to speak, in issue number 3 of Hell Arisen. And like, I've got my copy because I've got clout. I mean, I'm not trying to, shake my own stuff here, but I've got clout. I have a fairly decent sized YouTube channel. My comic book retailer knows me, you know what I'm saying? And like everybody there knows me. I'm going to, hype the store up. I do marketing for them and whatnot. And yeah, I walked in and just like, oh, hey, Bill, here you go. I was like, oh, thanks. Like, listen, Bill, seriously, keep this on you because if you just leave it lying around the store someplace, it's going to disappear. Somebody's going to, pick it up and buy it. I'm like, okay, I'll keep it on me. Yeah, but nobody knew that was going to be the case. Meanwhile, all this information was given to the retailers.
I'm talking number ones only.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but it's related in the sense that, oh, hey, we've got an issue number 1 with such and such and such. It's no different than with the first appearances, They seriously tried to hype the idea of, listen, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but Marvel Comics presents issue number, what was it, 3, I think it was, or
6.
4,
Is that with
6.
Wolverine's daughter?
Another one of Wolverine's kids. They wouldn't say what it was. They were just like, listen, it's going to be big. And so the comic book retailers were telling, their favorite customers, hey, check it out. It's going to be big. They're not saying what. And then again, and all of us were just like, what is this? He's got another daughter? Who cares?
Well,
So
that's me for Children of the Atom. We got another Cyclops? Who cares?
see, now that's actually going off the subject. But the retailers don't know anything but what they're being told. And it's really just, it's hype to try and get them to get their audience excited. And they make sure they say all this stuff way in advance before the order date comes. Case in point with Punchline, that big problem was that James Tynion IV, he let that information go out in, like, I think it was his 7th newsletter. He didn't tell DC that was going to be a big thing. DC didn't tell anybody, therefore. The only people who knew were those few of us who were actually reading his newsletter, and then it got out from us that, oh, yeah, it's going to be a new character. And the speculators were like, what's this? Insider information? It's like, wow, my God, man. So people who regularly come in to buy the book, they didn't have it unless it was in their pull list. There were pull lists that couldn't even be fulfilled because they just didn't order enough. People last moment, hey, I want to put that on my pull list. Okay, sure. But they only told me like 2 weeks, 3 weeks in advance. The final order date was, the cutoff date was just yesterday. So
did
what
James
do I do?
Tynion announce it in his newsletter?
Yeah.
Before the cutoff date for ordering or after the cutoff date of ordering?
I don't remember.
That matters.
It does matter, but I don't remember. Either way,
still, I still think the number ones are different. Like knowing that Spider-Geddon last year, okay, I ordered 100,000. Oh, well, they not a single store ordered 100,000, but collectively they ordered 100,000. And then when you see that the number 1 issue of Spider-Verse was 66,000, I think that's the market realizing, okay, this whole renumbering thing, restarting thing isn't as effective as it used to be.
Because
except
that's
for
the
X-Force.
gimmick.
Well, the gimmick is
that's the gimmick. The gimmick's old. At the end of the day,
yeah.
We're going to take this to wrestling for a moment. How many times can you repackage the same damn character? You remember when I know you'll probably both remember this, but you remember when Dusty Rhodes' oldest son,
Natural.
Yeah, Dustin,
yeah, when Dustin Goldust came out in WCW as that all black character with the purely white face, and he was on wires and he levitated to the ring, and there's this amazing entrance and people are like, what? I can't remember what his name. Oh, Seven. His name was Seven, I think.
Yeah, Seven.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, I'm just letting you guys know I'm Dustin Rhodes, and this is crap. I don't enjoy doing this, and blah 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 blah. And it was like he just crushed kayfabe right there. But it was one of those things where everybody's like, oh, wow, yeah, Shockmaster, saying like, how many times can you repackage the same guy? You want to bring up the Godfather? Yeah. What was his first one? When he became Papa Shango, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was Papa Shango, then Kama Mustafa. There was
Kama Mustafa, yes.
And then he was Kama, and then he became Kama Mustafa when he joined the Nation.
Yeah, but for the most part, it's still the same character.
He was still the same character because he was militant. And then you had the Godfather, and then you had the Good Father.
The Good Father.
Oh, you remember that? The right to censor. Stevie Richards. Wow, that's crazy.
It's terrible.
But I mean, like, Farouk, like they put him in like a blue helmet and stupid stuff like that. Like what?
He looked like a gladiator. Like he looked like a weird futuristic fantasy gladiator.
Yeah, the Running Man.
You telling me you wouldn't do that if Sonny was your manager?
He looked like Dynamo. That's what he looked like.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like how many times can you repackage the same damn book? It's the same thing. How many? What was the one book? They had 3 issue 1s in the same year. Was that Captain Marvel?
Probably.
I think so. No, it was rebooted in the same time because Margaret Stoll was like, okay, we're going to end the Captain Marvel book, but now I'm going to do the Life and Times of Captain Marvel, which there was 5 issues, so there was an issue 1 there, and then Kelly Thompson came on. She's like, okay, I'm going to jump on this. So there wasn't 3 number 1s there, but like there was 3 different volumes
within 12 months.
Within 12 months, and it's like, dude, that's crazy, and it doesn't look good. It's not a good look for the company, you know. It's not a good look for any company. How many times can you keep rebooting and renumbering? Then it's like, oh, we're going to go to legacy numbers. Why? Because you're just going to go back to the new number. You know, you're going to restart at issue 1 because issue 1 sells so well. And there was DC who realized that, and they were doing it once every 5 years. And then, as usual, Marvel comes along like, we're going to do it every 5 months. It's like, dude, you're literally killing the characters. You're killing the books.
You know what's impressive? I think Spider-Man this week actually reached issue 40. No, it was Avengers. No, wait. It was Avengers right now that reached something I read had a number 40, and I'm realizing how the hell did we get... Was it?
Yeah, Spider-Man is issue number 40 or 41.
See how like odd that is for a book to actually get that high in numbers?
Yep.
It's also bi-weekly. Yeah, 40 right there.
Yeah.
Legacy 741, 841. But the reason they went back to legacy numbering that like period of Marvel was just because Iron Man was about to hit 600, and Spidey was about to hit 800
too. Avengers hit 700, I think.
Yeah, that was the season when everyone was going to reach their milestone. I think Hulk and Thor also had anniversaries too.
Hulk is about to have 7. I just talked about that earlier. Remember, Immortal Hulk 33 is going to be 750.
I'll also point out too, I'm not the biggest fan of the whole double numbering. However, for people who are, I guess, kind of like me, who was like a lapsed comics fan for a while, and then you come back and you're like, well, I don't know where to start. Should start it over like number 1 so many times. Like that was kind of one of my biggest problems. Like, because a little known secret, before I started doing YouTube, I had only recently in the last few months gotten back into comics. So I had actually taken like a 4 or 5 year. Yeah, roughly about a 4 or 5 year break from reading any comics.
What 4 years were they?
It was roughly around the time of, I think it was right after Siege. So like I missed a lot of stuff. Like I've actually, there's stuff that's happened that people be like, oh, well, you forgot about this. I'll be like, yeah, probably because I wasn't reading at the time.
No, it's not forgetting. That's just not knowing.
Yeah, it's like, well, that too. So like I get it for like newer readers who come in and they kind of want to know where this fits in. I think the double numbering can kind of help with that a little bit, but like at the same time, I don't know. I wish they would stop.
Legacy
no
numbering.
More number 1s, just
the double number helps with collectors. At my store, I was talking to the retailer, and he told me that there's a bunch of people who dropped this book just because they stopped using the numbers, and they're like, I'm not compelled to pick it up any longer.
The legacy numbering does help for a lot of things, for collectors specifically. See, somebody like me, I could leave for 5 years, come back, and I know exactly how to figure out which volume of Spider-Man or Superman that we're on, But most people, like I'm going to say 90%, maybe 95% of comic book readers don't know how to do that. No. So I get it.
I'll look it up online, but like I'll just be like,
that's exactly how I would do it. I know which sites to go to. I know which people to ask. Saying I know how to look inside the comic book and figure it out. But it's frustrating when you've got like 8 volumes right now of the Punisher. Who needs 8 volumes of the Punisher?
Yeah.
Speaking of the Punisher, like Matthew Rosenberg, he did an amazing run on the Punisher, but he was just like the one that just ended. That was 3 volumes of the Punisher that he did, and he's only been doing it for a little over a year. He took over the Punisher from issue 16, I think was the last one. He took it over after that. Then he started up again with the fresh start, and he made him the Punisher War Machine. And then he started again when he lost it. So, lost the War Machine thing, so that he can go off and still keep on beating up people, even if he, as if he still had the machine. It's like, dude, what are you? It was a good series. I liked it. Rosenberg's pretty good. He's bad
also
with,
appreciated how he handled the
interviews. But I'm going to call a person out for that.
Yeah, I appreciated him addressing Frank Castle's chicanery in Secret Empire.
Oh,
or rather, how people responded to him
yeah,
as a
100%.
result of that.
He's an amazing storyteller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I appreciate this. I actually don't. Actually, I find myself liking Matthew Rosenberg stuff more often than not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind his Uncanny Run either. I thought that there was a lot of unnecessary death, but like just random characters dying for no reason. But
he probably knew about the whole resurrection thing, so
they
he's
all
just
did.
like,
yeah, they all, yeah.
All of a sudden, they all died. Either, and that continued in Dawn of X, which is, I'm so over the deaths. You want a wrestling analogy? You know, it's a Survivor Series, and for you non-fans, that's a 5-on-5 wrestling match. Now, with 5 wrestlers wrestling 5 wrestlers, probably going to take a long time. So people get eliminated in like the easiest way. A little small up, like a roll-up pin.
Little small package.
Braun Strowman will get counted out when in every other episode of Raw there's never a count out.
Can I give you what's possibly a better analogy? How about the 3 out of 4?
Like Iron Man matches.
But there's another one when they do like a 2 out of 3 falls.
2 out of 3 falls. You always know that each one is going to take a fall, and then it's only the last one.
That it's going to be the simplest move, like the Superman punch is going to get this guy down for 3, when usually that's not a move that finishes people off. But just coincidentally, we can have people take falls. It's just like how people are dying in X-Men. Like Domino died by Colossus because he held the train, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not fatal. Come on now. But it just happens. Okay, for a superhero, that's not fatal.
I'm saying she
had
didn't
enough,
even have her luck powers.
Hey, she had just enough energy to give her farewell speech. Like plot convenience on a million right there. And
well, if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, you know that's a power that the Bard has.
Is that?
That's the power that the Bard has.
Yeah, that is true.
You get to do a sonnet before you die.
And speaking as a person who loves playing bards, I've used that to my advantage.
See,
I hope that all of these deaths may lead to something. I'll let you finish, Blerd.
Yeah,
but I feel like maybe because every single one of them will die, there will be a story of, well, the ones who weren't resurrected by the 5, and it's going to be like these 3 mutants, and it's up to them to save everyone because everyone who has been resurrected is victim to this thing. So maybe that's why so many are dropping.
Well, I think it's actually something that's going to be addressed. I know X Factor is supposed to play a lot into that. The whole like what's going on, like looking into the resurrections and like when they go wrong or when maybe things are happening with characters that are supposed to be resurrected but haven't been. But the one thing, and I think it's very subtle, it's probably not as overt as a lot of people would probably want it to be, but I felt like in the same issue, Domino gave very good reasons as to, I feel like, the deaths, they don't matter. But I feel like the effects of the death does.
Yeah.
Like there's like, it's kind of one of those things. It's kind of like, what was it? I remember when I did, what was it? New Mutants, number 6 or 7 or whatever, whichever was the one where, spoilers, I guess, for that book, Beak's father gets killed. And everyone's like, oh, they could have just let Beak die and taken him to Krakoa and resurrected him and his dad could have still been alive. And it's like, no, people were basically kind of treating it as though, well, it's perfectly okay for a bunch of kids to watch their dad die in front of them. Even if he could be resurrected, let's just let the kids be traumatized by watching their dad die in front of them. Well, I mean, the granddad
didn't have his mind memorized yet by Cerebro. So he wasn't in the databanks. So he would have been an actual death.
Well, exactly. That was kind of the other point that I would use too. But it was a thing that people were perfectly okay with Beak dying, but not his human father, who was literally gonna die anyway. Had they not brought him the drugs he needed. But it's the thing of like, okay, Domino somehow like, oh, I want to keep the memories. I want to remember everything that happens. It's like, it's the whole, I'm interested in the story, and I don't know if they'll tell it, but the story of how they deal with the trauma. Like they kind of shown hints of it with Colossus and Domino. They've shown hints of it with maybe not so much with
Kate Pride.
Yeah, K Pride. Like they've shown they show hints of these things, but it's like I wonder if they're ever going to at any point really jump into it. But I like what they've done so far. Like the deaths, I've kind of gotten over it. It's like, yeah, I just assume they're going to happen because they can just do it. But I do think at one point it is going to become a thing that, like all things that Hickman does or things he oversees, I feel like things that people kind of look at as like plot holes or things that just don't make any sense. I always say just wait a little bit, because almost everything that I have thought that about, he has an answer for later. Like, like it was whole thing, like, case point, like Mystique, where everybody's like, oh, how did she get lost on the Orcus Forge? And it's like, no, she didn't get lost, because you get to X-Men number 6, and it's like, oh no, she was intentionally doing something else. Like it's little stuff like that. I'm kind of like, I'll just wait a while and see what happens.
Hickman deserves that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, he's a long-term booking. He's Hickman.
No dusty finishes.
It's basically Hickman books from SummerSlam to WrestleMania. He doesn't do Royal Rumble to WrestleMania. He goes SummerSlam to WrestleMania. And for those who don't know what that means, basically means several months worth of booking, not 2
as opposed to 3 months. Yeah.
We're full of wrestling today. I love it.
Yeah, well, we just got finished, all 3 of us, watching the AEW thing. So yeah, that would do it. And such a superior show, just saying.
Yeah. Hey, it wasn't Saudi Blood Money number 2 or 3, whichever one they're on right now.
Okay, listen, I'm going to talk about it. I don't care. All right, it says Comic Book University on this thing, so we're talking about it. That Fiend nonsense is some straight up bull. All right, that's
Goldberg.
Freaking Goldberg could not finish the match and still do his finisher. That was a suplex. That was not a freaking spear. All right, that dude was too tired to hold Bray Wyatt up, and he's just like, screw it. He just fell over.
He was gassed.
Yeah, when you saw him afterwards, that dude was sucking air like.
Oh no, he spent most of his energy on his entrance.
What else is new?
He does like the kicks and the swings and the punches when the sparks go down.
You remember the Ultimate Warrior?
Mm-hmm.
Dude was tired by the time he got to the ring.
Yeah,
running down there all the way and then shaking the ropes and whatnot. Afterwards, like, okay, let's do this match.
What WrestleMania was where they had the really long
7?
Yeah, because he had to run and then cut this way and then go through. And by the time he got to the ring, he was so gassed that the match was just,
He practically had a Titus O'Neil. That's right. I'm still bringing that up. That was great.
I love Titus. Bless Titus's heart.
I'm so upset that they don't do more with Titus, but that was funny. Anyway. I
got events on the Giant Size X-Men and the whole silent issue thing.
Go ahead.
Like, and you probably both disagree with me, but I thought it was bad just because there was no words. When you're a comic book, part of the story is writing, part of the story is words. When you restrict me from reading stuff for like most of that comic book, I don't know, 20 pages worth were just artwork. I feel like I'm being cheaped out. I feel like I'm not getting my money's worth when you could be telling the story with words. You guys remember in X-Men when Apocalypse was fighting Melody, but during that, it was Kurt and Scott having like a meaningful conversation about life, death, religion, talking about everything under the sun. I was viewing something and also reading something. Like I got 2 parts in one. In Giant Size X-Men, which is a book that came out the same week that Hickman wrote the X-Men book, I was only getting to see images and not getting the words part of it. And I paid an extra $1 for it. I'm done with silent issues.
Well, the only reason it didn't bother me is largely because, and Professor Bill, you may remember the issue number better than I do. It's kind of a throwback to another comic, The Not Talking. So that didn't bother me so much. I actually thought it was kind of funny at the end. They said we should probably talk. I actually thought that part was funny, even if it was funny. A little
like just comic are you referencing that they didn't?
I think it was either like an Uncanny 121 or I don't remember the exact number. Yeah, it was something where basically they did the exact same thing.
Exact same thing.
It was
yes.
but I think it was different characters. Like, it more involved Xavier, but
Yes.
even the sign saying, "Hey, silence, psychic rescue" or something like that in progress. It was the same. It was the same thing. But they were just doing it with different. They did it with different characters. So it's kind of like an homage to that. So I totally got. I do get where you're coming from though. Like there probably should have been more dialogue, but I actually thought that it was very masterful how I knew exactly what they were saying. Like the way the art, Russell Dodderman's art told the story that I mean, yeah, the words could have just as easily done. But like I could look at Emma's face and tell exactly what she was thinking at every point in time. Yeah. Even when they weren't using little clever like tricks to, show what words they were trying to say. Same with probably my favorite scene is where Jean is showing the image of her and Storm embracing from, I think that was back like in Inferno or something like that. I know it was like one of the older books, and Storm, like, she smile, like, her, or an aspect of Storm is smiling. And then like the very next panel, Emma's just kind of like showing a scene of them like pretty much at odds. And she's just kind of like,
I don't really have anything else.
Yeah. It's just like, this is all I got. She's just like, take it or leave it. And I was like, I felt like.
And then the snake came out. Yeah.
And I thought it was but like I said, at the same time, I totally understand where you're coming from. Like that makes complete total sense. It's just that I didn't mind it. Like
I disliked it for a different reason, but I'm surprised you didn't bring this up, Ernie. We were just talking about Ta-Nehisi Coates' first run with Black Panther. Towards the very end, probably the fourth to final issue, Leonard Kirk was on the book at that time doing the art. And I talked to Kurt about this book because this blew me away. There was the scene where Okoye was dealing with some stuff. Like everything was down. Everybody was screwed. And General Okoye was handling business. And there was the vibranium bomb essentially that went off. That's not exactly what happened, but something to that effect.
Yeah.
And all silence. Everything was silent. Like a thud on the floor couldn't happen. So there was noise. There were things going on, but you couldn't even hear automatopoeias. And when I talked to Kirk about it, he was like, "Oh, originally it was only supposed to be like a page, maybe 3 pages max." And I got back to Coates. I was like, "Can I actually do the bulk of the book like this? Because I would really just like to, show Okoye kicking some butt." And he's like, "Yeah, sure. And we'll just go on with something else instead. We'll extend the story later." So Kirk
just like him, we'll extend the story.
Yeah. But Kirk killed it on this book. Like you saw her moving through things and she's hitting things, she's getting hit and she's like sneaking up on, oh my God. It was an amazing issue. Probably my favorite issue in the whole thing. So no, I think
I would like that.
Yeah, silent issues can be really fun.
Whoa. This wasn't Okoye, or this wasn't the same thing. This wasn't a whole bunch of fighting where, actually looking at the story you might tell. This was more like there's a elephant with butterfly wings, and here's a line next to another line, and we're communicating. That's not as thrilling as Okoye.
Not the same. Well, they could have done it differently, so a lot of this does have to do with the direction of the book. And whatever, the artist is only going to be able to go with what he's given. He's not supposed to be the main storyteller.
Let's say not like this ain't like how it was back in the day.
Exactly. This wasn't like in the Kirby days or the Gene Colan days. But I can say that, like I said in my review, I think that it was more of a Storm issue just because other characters were in it. Everything was about catering to Storm. Even the opening statement was, okay, so Storm got into a fight with the children of the vault, and now something happened to her. And then you see Storm was found bleeding from the nose. And it's okay, let's go in and handle Storm. And nobody's talking. Like, you showed Emma Frost and Jean Grey on the front of the book. You called it Giant Size X-Men, Emma Frost, Jean Grey. I'm sorry, when push comes to shove, this should have been a book about them, not involving Storm. Maybe her walking past them. Maybe not being in the story any more than Cyclops and Wolverine were in the story. Like, for the love of God, I want to see these two talking about Scott. That's what
I was actually hoping for in this comic.
Right?
Especially when you consider, and I know that Storm has her own issue where this is supposed to be resolved or addressed, but I kind of felt like maybe that should have been her one shot. And then, and have the story. I was actually looking forward to a Jean Emma.
Yeah. This story,
dialogue.
like I said in my review, this story should have been X-Men issue number 8.
Mm-hmm.
I would have had zero problems if that's where this story showed up. None. I would have said this was a really good story. But you teased me with Jean Grey and Emma Frost. I want to see them arguing with each other about stuff, like, or resolving, past problems. Like, listen, we've got Magneto is on this island. Apocalypse is on this island. You know what I'm saying? We're probably standing over the spot where we buried Sabretooth. He might crawl. Who knows? Who knows? So, like, there's some crazy stuff happening right here. You and I need to work out our problems so that we could be on a tighter bond. All right. I would have loved to see anything even close to that. I didn't get that.
Chill. You probably know, and you too as well, Professor Bill. Like, you know what I was actually hoping for. Y'all are familiar like with the Kelly Thompson where she did the whole storyline with Captain Marvel and Rogue.
Yeah.
That was
like the first few. It was in the first volume,
X.
first few issues.
Mr. and Mrs. X, right?
Well, no, this was in the actual Captain Marvel book.
Oh, because she had both crossing over.
Yeah, she had them both come over, but just more specifically, they
were on an island in New York. There were only women allowed, and Rogue got there.
Right. Yeah. The thing, what I was actually kind of hoping for in this book was what happened for them after the confrontation, where they sat down and I feel like it's kind of like I always feel like the readers put way more into what goes on between two different characters than what's actually there. And that's what I kind of liked about that arc they did with Captain Marvel and Rogue. It was like, I don't even really hate you. It's like, we don't really have any beef. Like, can we just bury it and just we're not going to be friends or whatever, but I mean,
I'm actually afraid. And I think this was actually because she was writing Mr. and Mrs. X and the early Captain Marvel at the same time.
Yes.
So she actually hey, where's she going? Go and check out Captain Marvel issue number 4, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was great. She had them going back and forth. But she actually had the one part where she's like, oh yeah, I'm actually more of afraid of you than anything else, because of so and so. And it's like they were bearing their souls.
Yeah, and a lot of people were like, no, kill each other. It's like, no, I want them to get this is a beef that's over 30 years old. Like, can we put this to bed and move on? And that's what I kind of wanted to see out of Jean and Emma. I wanted them to put their souls out there, have we have never really seen them have an actual real conversation. I want to that was what I was like. So yeah, I'm with you on that one. Most definitely. I would have rather seen that than a story about which ultimately wound up being about Storm.
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as I love Storm and like to see her get more things, I would have rather see her doing something else.
Maybe this is I know the Hickman's the head of X, but maybe this is a Jordan White thing where it's like, dude, you're supposed to be the X-Men editor. Maybe you should have been reading these and acting like a fan and saying, hold on, I have a question about why you have these two, in this titled in this book, but it's actually a Storm issue. Yeah. Hey, we were just talking about Captain Marvel. Is there anything else about the comics that you want to go over, Chill?
Nah.
That was it. Cool. In which case, there is some Captain Marvel news. So, did you hear that Henry Cavill is going to be Wolverine in Captain Marvel number 2? Yeah, this is what happens when you have absolute jackasses in a corporate comic book site who really just don't get it. They don't understand anything. These morons actually thought and just started reporting on, I heard a rumor that these are the same idiots who see Gail Simone. They follow Gail Simone on Twitter and she said something. Let's make a news article about it. Like, dude, come on. Henry Cavill is not going to be freaking Wolverine.
No, no, God, no.
Unbelievable.
They're Okay, let's be real here. This is about as ridiculous as when they started photoshopping Danny DeVito as Wolverine. Like, I'm like, look, can we just stop for like a year on this? Can we take a break? Can I get a year off from this
DeVito and I are
stuff?
both from Asbury Park, New Jersey, and I support the hell out of what Danny DeVito does. But this dude, if he's going to be a comic book hero again, give him another umbrella, because I don't want to see this dude as freaking Wolverine.
No, like
not even as Puck. I mean, come
no,
on.
God, no. Ugh, no. I you know how you, okay, case in point. Yeah, we are familiar with this because we understand the concept of what actual fake news is.
Yeah.
This is so obviously fake, and it proves that people don't know what fake news is, because I saw a lot of people like talking about this as though it was legit.
Yeah.
And it's like there are no sources.
Yes.
There's zero sources. It's all hearsay. It's all just, hey, like literally right now, I could do the same thing. I could literally make a video today and put it out and say, hey, Mark Hamill is coming to the MCU and he's playing Kang the Conqueror. There you go. You heard it here first.
It's actually going to be Owen Wilson, but hey.
See, exactly. See?
He's actually attached to the Loki thing, so you know. But
it would make even more sense if that were that is the case. It's just the fact that people don't think about that sort of stuff, and like they start fantasy booking in their head. This is all pie in the sky stuff. It's not going to happen.
Well, more importantly, these are the comic book resources that people look to. CBR, comic book resources. There's AIPT, there's Newsarama.
Yeah, Newsarama.
Like, you can't trust Bleeding Cool because they're full of crap. Yeah, but guess what? Every single one of them is full of crap because they heard something like, oh, shoot, let me just verify it really quick. Yep, somebody else is reporting it too. So we better report it so that we're not the only ones not reporting it. You're so interested in being first that you're not interested in being right. And that is the problem. That's what I'm terrified of. Because we are all personalities, and we're strong personalities, and people will, if we say something, people will listen to us and they will think, oh shoot, well, Professor Bill said it, Ernie said it, Chillmonger said it must be true. And I'm so terrified of being a cult of personality. So I refuse, I'm so careful with so much of what I report on, and it's just comic book news, but I take that seriously. You can't rush to try and be first. No. You got to rush to be right.
It's better to be correct and accurate than be the first one out. Yeah, because I mean, it's case in point. You could be the first off you could be the first off the starting line and still lose the race.
Oh,
yeah, it's a case in point. As an example. To talking about people trying to be instead of working on trying to be accurate, I am so hesitant to believe the headlines I see that when they announced that Kobe Bryant, when his helicopter went down, I did not believe the first story that I saw, which was I believe was
denial.
TMZ.
Yeah, that's not just denial. That's like. I want to verify this.
Yeah, well, it honestly, and then another website started talking. I was like, I don't know. I think they're just repeating what TMZ said. It wasn't until ESPN said something, and I was like,
Adrian Wojnarowski. Yeah, he don't lie.
Yeah, I was like, ESPN's reporting on this. I don't think they would just say this willy nilly. So, and then next thing you start seeing, and then there was someone had. Not the best idea I think anyone ever had, but someone took video footage of the helicopter going down. I was like, that's not something I needed to see, but yeah, whatever. The thing is, we live in a world where there's so much fake news, people just throwing things out there just to get clicks, that you have to vet everything. Yeah. And I feel like you are doing your industry a disservice if you just recklessly throw stories out there, especially because there are people out there who will see that story and believe it and they will go on believing it because they're not going to fact check it, and then they're going to spread that misinformation, and it's just going to keep going and going and going and going and going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The Dan Didio thing.
Oh man.
Somebody, I forget who it was. One of the reporting sites. They got it first. They got the information first. They reported on the idea that there was a panel that Didio was supposed to be there, but he never showed up, and a bunch of the other people who knew about it didn't show up. So people were like, "Well, this is ridiculous," and they reported like, "Well, this is really unprofessional." And all of a sudden, they like, "Oh shoot, we just found out that Dan Didio got fired. What's going on?" And then somebody else decided to copy word for word the entire article. They just cut and copy pasted the entire thing and put on their article, and they called them out for it. Like, these guys just copied us.
Oh.
But yeah.
Well, they were being accurate.
Say again.
Like I said,
They were being accurate.
Oh, they were. Anyway, before we get into the Didio case, because I do want to talk about that for a moment. Realistically, for me, the Henry Cavill, I'm certain he's going to show up on something. I would love to see him as Captain Britain or something like that. I would love to see that. I think he'd be great on it. But he still wants to play Superman. And I don't think that until he's certain that nothing's going to happen over there, he's not going to commit himself to being another superhero quite so soon. So he might show up as a this or that or something else. And we've seen that before. We've seen people play this role and then play something else in the same Marvel universe, so I'm sure that we'll see something like that
Jamon Hansu has played two different characters in the DCEU.
Yeah. In Shazam, he was the
he's the wizard.
But in Aquaman, wasn't he in?
He's the Fisher King.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, he was in makeup.
And then also he also has the distinction of being in 2 Captain Marvel movies in 1 year.
Okay.
And because he was in Captain Marvel and he was in Shazam, and then of course because he's in Captain Marvel, he plays a character in Marvel. So.
He danced around. He went from Marvel, that's Guardians, to DC, that's Aquaman, back to Marvel, Captain Marvel, back to DC for Shazam.
Hey. It's good to have money coming from like have income coming in from like different revenue streams. Yeah, so, you got to have them.
So talking about fake news though, hey, isn't DC's going to be sold?
Oh, I heard they're dead.
I heard they're already dead and gone. Like there's no more comics coming out.
At the comic shop this week, they were saying how AT&T is doing WCW all over again. They're sick of them. They're not making money, so they'll just sell them for $4 million.
Hey, I heard Marvel has already bought them.
No, Marvel had an opportunity to buy DC once before, and they said, no, you're going to be fine. And then Marvel wound up going bankrupt like 4 years later.
Yeah.
But that's not the same Marvel, though. They will buy them in a heartbeat now. They're like, we got Superman and Batman? Yoink.
look, that mouse, that mouse has all the money.
Would you want them to, if, like, hypothetically speaking, would integrate Batman and Superman, Wonder Woman into Marvel continuity, or would you want them to keep them things separate, just more crossover events?
I would say crossover events, keep them separate, though.
Yeah.
I actually feel that way about the X-Men as far as, like, the Marvel movies are concerned. I'm like, don't just throw them in the MCU.
It's got to be like the comic books. Don't oversaturate.
Whoa. I'm saying as soon as you got the rights to the X-Men, they better be in that MCU.
Well, no, they could be in the MCU just saying, like, I don't want them, like, always involved in what's going on with, like, the Avengers. I don't want X-Men just, like, okay, you can bring Wolverine over, but I don't want to see, like, whole-ass Avengers versus X-Men or full, like, I don't want to see all that stuff.
Build up to that.
Yeah, like, it just, and only do it every now and again. I don't want every movie where it's like, oh, hey, there's like 10 X-Men over here in this Avengers movie. No, I don't want that.
Okay, a Storm and a Black Panther, a Rogue and a Captain Marvel.
I'd be like, hell, I'd be fine with that. Because it's one of those things. I feel like the X-Men don't really cross over with the Avengers that often in the comics. They're kind of, I don't know. They don't really.
They're on their own island.
Yeah. Well, especially now. Especially now.
Yeah.
But
at the end of the day, I'm good with a wait in the MCU. Like, come on, man. Like, for me, my opinion is let the stink of everything that just happened. It's like the Phoenix movie, the Dark Phoenix movie came out. We're still waiting for that New Mutants to come out. And I know there are people like, it's going to be so good. With all due respect, shut the hell up. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's going to be good. For the most part, come on, man.
I'm interested. I'm more interested than I was, but I'm not expecting anything.
Yeah. I'm probably I still haven't seen Dark Phoenix yet.
Oh, really? It's actually not that bad.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, cute. I'm not interested in Not That Bad. I have no interest in Not That Bad.
I like, the only thing I found absolutely egregious is that you remember the asparagus people?
What's this now?
So, like, okay, the planet that Jean blew up.
Yes.
The alien race that came from that planet, like, they had like one random person from that planet that they popped up in one of the early Avengers comics. They make those people a way bigger deal than what they were in the comics. Like, because they are the bad guys, more or less, of the movie. I mean, like the other villain that's not Jean, I guess, or what. It's dumb.
Yeah,
that part I think is kind of dumb. I'm like, they're asparagus
with all
people.
due respect, I honestly don't care. I have no interest whatsoever in this movie.
Yeah.
If I hear enough people saying, "Oh yeah, New Mutants was actually really good," if somebody tells me what I just heard, it's not that bad. But like, yeah, you know what? If I had the chance to be with this girl over here or that girl over there, and somebody's like, "Yeah, she's really good. She's not that bad." What do you think I'm going with? I'm saying.
Oh no, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
It's Comic Book University After Dark. Let's go, man. I'm not having all that. Like, she's not that bad.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not in that bed. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm moving on.
I've only seen it the one time, and I'm not going out of my way to see it again. Like, it was like, I saw it once. I was good.
If it was on, and there was also if you flip through the channels and you saw it on TV, and you also saw that The Last Dragon was on that channel,
I probably watched The Last Dragon.
See, this is what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Because there's some movies, like, if I'm flipping the channel, I see this is on, but like, oh,
I mean, let's be fair. If Daredevil were on, I would probably still watch Daredevil first, just because I have a soft spot in my heart for that movie.
Even if it's not director's cut, because I love the director's cut.
Oh no, I had I own the director's cut, and that's the only thing I watch.
See,
I don't watch the regular version. Yeah, but yeah, no, I would take. Hell, you know what? I'll throw you one better.
Say Deep Blue Sea.
I would be quicker. Actually, you have no idea how much quicker I'd be to watch Deep Blue Sea before I'd watch Dark Phoenix. That wouldn't even be a question. Like, you wouldn't even get to say what the other movie was. Do you want to watch Deep Blue Sea, or I want to watch Deep Blue Sea?
Yeah, that one.
Give me that.
They didn't even call it the XMen Dark Phoenix. They just took the X right out of there. They're like, everybody forget about the X-Men for a minute. We're gonna rebrand. Yeah.
So I honestly, like, that's just where I honestly feel dirty talking about this for so long. I honestly do not care about the Dark Phoenix movie. I have zero expectations for what Fox has done with the freaking New Mutants movie. You know what I'm so proud of? That Marvel or Disney was able to buy Fox Studios before and turn into Fox or Spotlights, whatever. Before they decided to do what they were planning on doing, and that is making an Alpha Flight movie also. They were like, we're going to take all of these properties that we have. We're just going to start making movies. Dude, they were just talking a couple days ago about making a Mysterio movie over at Sony because they're trying to bilk this for everything that it's worth. They're like, we're still going to do Silver and Black. I want you to know that. We're going to still do Silver and Black. Nobody asked for that. Oh, Sinister Six is still coming. But dude, you still have Avi Arad. You can't get rid of this guy. This guy's like a tick burrowed under people's skin and sucking your freaking blood. And you're like, I want to kill this thing, but I can't. Like, oh my God. They're talking about making a Kraven the Hunter movie. It's like, dude, I don't want to see a Kraven the Hunter movie. If you're going to do Kraven the Hunter, with the, oh, for crying out loud, I'm so bothered right now. I can't remember what it's called. Kraven's Last Hunt. Oh, I'm down. Let's play. But I don't want to see it with Venom. I don't want to see a Venom movie without Spider-Man. At least not until you've had Spider-Man first. I don't want to see a freaking Sinister Six movie by itself. I don't want to see Silver and Black. I don't want to see this Morbius. I don't care about this Morbius thing. It looks pretty good. This is a picture of me not giving two rats butts. I don't care. Like, they're literally just going to throw everything they can at the wall and see what sticks. And I'm not going to be there when they're slinging crap against me. I'm not their wall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I got better things to do, bro.
Hey, I'm not mad at you. That's
I just know every dollar spent on a Sony film is a reason for them to keep the film rights away from Marvel, and there won't be any intermingling.
That's
Exactly.
technically what Fox fell into.
Mm-hmm.
Fox was just, people kept going seeing X-Men movies, going seeing Wolverine movies, going and seeing Logan, and they're like, well,
Uninformed
keep
viewers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was one of those people, and I did like Logan. I did like Days of Future Past.
Mm-hmm.
Those were and then I saw Dark Phoenix, but by then they were already sold. But like, I mean, they did have sort of a history before 2008 when Marvel started their universe, so they did own some sort of nostalgia with me.
They were already on a downward slide by the time Marvel kicked in, though. That's the part that blows my mind, is that like they, on the strength of what I would say is 2 good movies in the beginning, they somehow bought up enough goodwill that they could just backslide for like the better part of a decade.
Until
Hold
First
on.
Class.
Are you talking about the first 2 X-Men movies?
Yeah, I'm talking about like X-Men 1,
No.
X-Men 1 and X2, not X-Men Last Stand or X-Men Origins Wolverine or any of that shit.
What I need you to do is allow me to surgically remove the nostalgia from your brain.
That can't be done.
Because if we could do that, no, I bet you I can. Because if you were to go back and watch those now.
I did.
I have. I don't like them as much as I used to.
Because look, I'm going to tell you straight up. Blade 1 and 2 was off the chain. I don't care what Marvel does. Like, I don't want to see Marvel do anything unless they're going to get Dr. Wesley Snipes. He's a doctor.
He's a doctor now. He's a doctor.
He's a doctor of Deuteronomy. Doctor of
Thugonomics.
I don't know why that tickled me as much as it did, but it did.
Anyway,
but I'm forcing you to feel me.
I ain't feeling you, man. No, he's doctor of of religion. Anyway, it's called a DD. So anyway, what do you call it? I want to see Old Man Blade. That's what I want to see. I want to see the original, Wesley Snipes' Blade in there, because it's not the same if he's not in it. That's my personal opinion on it. He did an amazing job. Boom. Even 3, I would watch 3 again just for the sake of conversation. It wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but it's still attached to the first 2. I'm down. Those first 2 X-Men movie, though, those were only good to me because, and I think all of us, because what else did we have? We had Red Brown Captain America with the freaking motorcycle helmet. We had the later one with I think his name was John Salinger. That's J.D. Salinger, the guy who did the Catcher in the Rye. He did that one thing where, Captain America, where he steals the freaking truck and Winter Soldier makes fun of it.
He was also the one who wore he had the mask where the ears were a part of the mask. That was the same one, wasn't it? Huh?
Was the ears were a part of the mask? What do you mean?
Yeah, like, do you ever notice on the Captain America mask for that for that attempt at making a Captain America movie?
Yeah, the 1989-1991 straight to DVD.
Yeah, his ears came out of the mask, like out of the whole head get up. But the problem with it was those weren't his ears. His ears were under it. They were fake ears that were put on.
I did not know that.
Yeah, if you don't go back and watch the movie, but if you just Google image search it, a picture of his head in the mask, you'll see it and you'll never be able to unsee it.
That's just hysterical.
But yeah, but I'm with you. I'm with you.
I mean, they weren't good. But then all of a sudden, like, Blade comes out and it's like, oh. I remember my friend Chris, like, he knows I'm the comic book guy, and he's like, was that how Blade was in the comics? I'm like, no. But I like this one so much more. Like, it was amazing.
It was the Kano effect. Blade had the Kano effect, where like his character was so radically different than what he was in the source material that as a result of that, the popularity of it made them go back and change what the comics or the original source material were like.
So who's the Kano from Mortal Kombat?
From Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat in the video games, in the original video game, he's not Australian at all. He's half American, half Japanese. Has no Australian accent. but in the movie, he was played by an Australian actor. I think it was Trevor Goddard.
Okay.
And he was so good in his role and people loved him so much that in all the video games going forward, he's Australian.
Wow.
And they even make him look like the guy who played him.
Listen, I don't know how many gamers are listening to this, but I say we just simply call the Blade effect instead, because
the Blade effect works. I like that. I like that because Blade was not that character from the movie. He wasn't. He became that character.
Oh yeah, starting with the Fox Spider-Man cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
He just pulled up in the motorcycle with the trench. I'm like, yes!
I was like, oh wow, and he had the laser sword. He had the laser sword too.
I remember that. So, like, those were just so good that all of a sudden we started getting like the Spider-Man movies. I admit those were actually pretty good, but the X-Men movies, they're only good in retrospect. The stories were good, but I mean, like, I don't think I can go back and watch Wolverine being thrown by Sabretooth and then using his claws to slide around one of the Statue of Liberty's freaking crown points, and then it falls and he lands. And he's like, it's like, oh, come on. That was so cheesy. Even when I saw it in the theater, I'm like, that was cheesy, but this is a great movie. Oh, look, they're holding, Jean is holding his eyes, Scott's eyes when they're trapped so that it doesn't blast her in the face and all that stuff. This is so cool. Oh, they showed how Rogue got her line and, in her hair and stuff like that. There was some stuff that was cool, but you go back, it's like, this sucked.
It's not that great.
Yeah. There's still a really great, I love it moment where Rogue was in the car with Wolverine. Does it hurt every time they come, does it hurt when they come out? And he's like, every time. It's like, oh, I'd probably still start getting choked up when I see it, because that's a great Wolverine moment, Oh,
no, I agree.
But nah, man, like, those movies weren't great. When you see everything that they've done afterwards, including X3, everything they've done afterwards, I'm the Juggernaut, the freaking Deadpool with the mask. These are people who don't know what they're doing. They're not taking from the source material. Comic books, more than anything else, they have because you need the story, you need the thumbnails, you need to know the visuals, and the only thing they have to do is get the cast. And they've already got the scripts there. It's the easiest thing in the world to transfer a comic book to a movie, and they don't. And it killed me. Sorry.
No. I was going to say, I don't know if you've ever seen this interview, but Olivia Munn actually talked about this. And because what you said is actually very accurate. Bryan Singer does not read comics. He actually doesn't even like comics. He has about the same mentality towards comic books that Tim Burton did towards Batman. He didn't care for it. The thing with Bryan Singer, and I remember Olivia Munn actually had to do this. She had to explain to the people, the producers, the writers, Bryan Singer, that certain characters had connections to other characters, like that they just didn't like. She said that Bryan Singer was not aware of the fact that Psylocke is not actually the character Psylocke is a British woman trapped in a Japanese woman's body, or that same British woman is the sister of Captain Britain, or that a character like Jubilee probably would not be around in the 80s, or like just little stuff. It was like little simple things that anyone who actually had ever read an X-Men comic, even for 2 seconds, even if you only ever watched the 90s X-Men cartoon, which is most people, you would have that understanding. Now, I will say the reason I think we will probably never see Wesley Snipes anywhere near a Blade movie of any type that's MCU related has everything to do with Blade Trinity. And not even the movie itself. It was how comically awful Wesley Snipes was on set. And Kevin Feige worked on that set, so he knows firsthand how accurate a lot of the horror stories. Like I think Patton Oswalt cut a 30-minute promo one time about it, about how crazy Wesley Snipes acted on set. But that would be the only if Wesley Snipes never showed up in the MCU, that would be the one reason I would not be surprised. But I do think he will be.
Triple H talked about that too. He's like, Snipes was always good to me.
He was good to him.
Yeah, but everybody else, he was just like, he was good to me.
Like he was actually like legit hitting his stunt doubles.
Ooh.
Being kind of a jerk. Like he would walk around on set like he would not want people to refer to him as Wesley Snipes. He wanted to be referred to as Blade, and he would leave little notes around the set because him and the director were apparently not on speaking terms.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Kevin Feige I think he worked as an assistant or something along those lines, but I know he did work on that movie in some capacity. Yeah. And I know Kevin Feige has a long memory.
That's cool that he's got so much experience on the early Marvel films where he could see a bad one, or maybe they weren't all bad, but he can know the difference between the goods and the bads. And his track record, he's 23 for 23. I actually like some of his Marvel movies more than the comic. Like Infinity Gauntlet, I'll take Infinity War and Endgame over that comic book.
Yeah, I mean, because the comic itself is kind of a weird... Like, I reread Infinity Gauntlet roughly about a few months before the movie Infinity War, and I was like, you know what? They made kind of a wise decision here, because
that's two of us.
It's and I'm not saying Infinity Gauntlet is bad.
Have you ever seen a Steven Seagal movie? Numbers don't mean shit.
That is true. That is true. Well, I mean, but it's just in the sense that like I felt like it was a tighter storytelling experience, whereas like Infinity Gauntlet, I feel like is a hard story to adapt anyway, just because the way they were, especially with the way they were planning on doing it, I just feel like, yeah, they were going to add in all these other elements. There's no way they could have told that story and it would have been as impactful, because it's like
the idea all this history in the comics that were leading to this event. It wasn't like they could just, like, if they just came out, it's like, oh, Nebula, you're actually my, granddaughter, but no, you're not. I would never sire a child and blah, 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 blah. What about Sanctuary 2? And you stole Sanctuary 2 and all that. They can't incorporate all that stuff into the book. God, you don't have years of the comic book to, and they can't be doing it just to the, only to the comic book fans. Like, oh, it's going to be 100% comics accurate. No, I get that.
Yeah.
But, what do you call it? I mean, was Iron Man even in the? I don't even remember. Was Iron Man actually?
Yes. Yes, because I remember because he got his head ripped off.
There we go. Thank you. I was going to say, how did he die in that one? That's the only way I'm going to remember. He didn't have any important moments in there. They didn't have access to the Silver Surfer. They had to use the Hulk instead for being thrown into Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. I'm saying they didn't already build up the Adam Warlock character. Like there was so much more they'd have to do just to do that.
I was going to say Mephisto was not there, so
that wouldn't have been the most important thing, but that could have been kind of important.
It would have been a nice setup. Like it'd been a nice way to introduce people to the character and kind of set him up for future stuff.
Yeah, but I mean the cosmic aspects there. They would have to introduce not just eternity and death, but also the Stranger. They'd have to incorporate all these other characters, Lord Chaos, Master Order, and oh my god, Master Order. Look, anyway, there's way too much stuff. Why don't you just throw the In-Betweener in there also? No, there's no way they could have possibly done that. That was a decade in the making. The Thanos Quest, those two issues.
I would love to see I tell you what, this is something I will say. I would not be against it. Granted, it would make no sense if they did this, because technically they kind of roped in elements of Thanos Quest into Infinity War and Endgame, but or more Infinity War than anything else. But I would have loved to have seen Thanos just get his own movie, where like he's the guy, and just showing him in his rise to power. Just like I would have. Like I'm not typically a fan of movies where like you follow a villain, but I feel like because they were able to kind of make Infinity War a movie just strictly about Thanos. Like it was more a Thanos movie than anything else. You spent so much time with him as a character that you kind of had to get to know him.
Right.
But I felt like
you were rooting for Thanos in the Thanos quest, though.
Right.
Meanwhile,
You're
they already
actually with
had
him.
everything. They already had everything, like how he was resurrected and everything from in the Silver Surfer comic books, how he died in the first place back in Marvel 2-in-1 issue number. The was it Marvel 2-in-1? The annual
So.
number 2, was it? Anyway, something like that. Like they already had all of this stuff before. If they just had that Thanos quest where it's just Thanos in the movie and he shows up against the champion of the universe,
Yeah.
the three of us would have been like, yes!
Yeah.
But it would have been one of those moments like at the end of Infinity War where it's like Captain Marvel's, thing shows up on that cosmic beeper and everybody's like, who's that? Me, I was like, they really did it. Holy crap. They actually, they jumped the gun on. Yes. Yes. I was so happy. And everybody else is like, what's that? What is that?
That was $1.1 billion. That's what that was.
That's what that was.
But you know what I love? I love I'm still the guy that still is sad that she didn't get her cameo in Age of Ultron.
Right? Yeah, they had the set for it and everything.
Like that blank space, that was her space. God damn it.
That was her space. They had a fill in for it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, like the fans wouldn't have known who Champion of the Universe is.
No.
They wouldn't have read the comic book where, Marvel 2-in-1 issue number annual number 7, I think that was. Maybe it was 8, but whatever, where the Thing, everybody's trying to fight the Champion of the Universe and they can't beat him, and the Thing, like, barely scrapes by. He's like, I respect you so much. I can never truly beat you because I can never beat your soul. I can never beat your heart. It's like, wow, great moments and all this stuff. And here's this character who's never been defeated, the Champion of the Universe. He's going to show up here and everybody's like, who's the big, 8-foot tall blue guy?
Mm-hmm. That's something I think would be the one problem. I think that move, that if you did something like that like I tell you what you could do. Don't even make it a movie. Give me a Mandalorian style Disney Plus series. Just like
they didn't have it at the time.
No, they didn't have it at the time. Just saying, like, if you could do something like that now, like doing, like, maybe not even don't even make it Thanos quest per se, but just have it be like, just like, I could see them doing a prequel story about Thanos' time before Infinity War, like the time that we didn't see, and kind of like his rise to like becoming the person that he is, like at that moment, like kind of how like. Because I think a lot of people, one of the questions I usually see people would always kind of complain about, like, well, I don't see how he's so much more powerful without the stones in Endgame. I don't get that. It's like, because people forget, like, dude, Thanos is badass. He doesn't need the gauntlet to mess his day up. It
really doesn't. For me, like, back to the thing that we were talking about.
Yeah.
When Winter Soldier showed up, like when the movie came out, it's like, holy crap, this is blockbuster gold. Like, this is better than anything else being put out in the movies right now. This is better than, I'm going to say it, better than anything that Scorsese has been putting out, for a while. Like, this is absurdly amazing. A Captain America movie is this good?
Because
holy crap.
It's not just a good comic book movie.
Yeah. And they had some serious star power in there with Robert Redford. But then when they also came out around the same time with the Guardians of the Galaxy, who, like, I'm sure the people in this chat are probably some of the only people who ever actually saw. No, we're not live. I mean, like, the three of us. What do you call it? We're probably some of the only people on Earth who recognize these characters. Like, oh, Rocket Raccoon, cool. Oh, they're gonna have Star-Lord. Okay, cool. I wonder if they're gonna do the Element Gun. Oh, they're not. Okay, cool. Is Jason still his father? All sorts of little things like that.
See, I wasn't reading comics in 2014, so no, I would be the casual audience who's just like, I've seen all these Marvel films. Oh, now this also happens in Marvel.
Now who's outnumbered?
I'm looking at the purple, that's a power stone. Oh yeah, they had Infinity Stones in the other, and now I'm learning about the Infinity Stones, and I'm like, oh, this all counts. This is all connected. This is awesome.
Yeah.
So, but when they made an amazing Captain America movie in The Winter Soldier, and they took these essentially unknown characters, they put Bill Mantlo back on the map. You know what I'm saying? And all of a sudden, just boom, here you go. When those two movies came out, I said, holy crap, this is the greatest thing that's happened to comic books since Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. It
Do you
was.
do you maintain that it's the greatest thing that happened to comic books?
Yeah, it really is, because
what's
look
it
at what
done
it's
for
done.
comic books?
It's the idea that the Marvel Comics is right now one of those properties that will never be allowed to go bankrupt. You look at the situation that DC is in right now, okay? And when we're going to talk about that, and then you look at the situation that Marvel's in right now, they can write whatever they want. And for the most part, nobody cares, because they know it's going to be amazing.
I'll give DC credit for making Harley Quinn what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy. It's just these unknowns, and all of a sudden, what did I say last time? She's everyone's Halloween costume. That's Harley Quinn. Everyone knows her. They made a A-list star.
Yes, 100%.
Alexa Bliss.
You're right. Yeah. Alexa Bliss, all that. What do you call it? But anyway, that's when I realized all those other movies that were made before, with the exception of Blade, for the most part, sucked. They just sucked. And I want all of those to be eaten up by the MCU, so that we can get all those characters done right over here. Like, I felt stupid not realizing with Iron Man, you know what I'm saying? Where I was just like, oh my God, how is Iron Man a good movie? Like, there are people today who are just like, Tony Stark is an amazing character. No, he's not. He's a crap character. Tony Stark is a bad guy. He's that close to being a bad guy. You know what I'm saying? He's Howard Hughes, for crying out loud. That would be like arguing, I don't even want to go, just whatever. Like, he's not a good guy. He's not a hero. He has superpowers in the form of his armor. He's not a good guy. So when all of a sudden he's like, saving people from a bomb, the MCU Tony Stark is not the real Tony Stark from the comic books. There's so many people who just showed up one day in the movies and were like, I love Tony Stark. You love the movie version of Tony Stark, son. You don't like the comic book version. If you knew anything about him, he's not the hero.
Not the same character.
It's not. It's just not.
He's that, and I'm glad you said something about that, because that's actually one of my biggest issues with a lot of the current crop of comics fans. I challenge people to tell me what Tony Stark's personality traits were before 2008. I challenge people to tell me, because honestly, he was about as dry toast of a character to me. It wasn't until the popularity of the Iron Man movies that Iron Man the comics gained a personality because of Robert Downey Jr. Like, now Tony has a personality. Yeah. He's the character he's closer to the character in the movies now. And you could technically say, oh, Robert Downey Jr. he's so much like the Tony in the comics now. But that's because the comics have changed to once again, we were talking about the Blade effect. Now we have the Iron Man effect. Yeah. But before 2008, Iron Man was not an interesting character. He was bland. He was kind of milquetoast.
He was on the wrong side of Civil War.
He was on the wrong side of comic book history.
Yeah.
You talk to the writers of all of the different writers for Iron Man, and the people who didn't want to write for Iron Man. And then the people who were like, yeah, let's try something new with them, and all of them are like, yeah, I never really saw Tony Stark as a good guy. He was a regular guy.
The greatest villain of Marvel Comics.
I made the argument so many times. When you looked at Axis, the Axis storyline, the Red Skull, the genuinely evilest character in all of comic book history, as far as I'm concerned, the evilest. He's a Nazi, for crying out loud. He got turned into the greatest hero, you know what I'm saying, because he had such a paradigm shift. But when Tony Stark got the Access thing, how much did he really change? Not that much. He didn't have that far to go. He was already right on the line. He just went on the other side of the fence. He was still leaning on the fence, just from the other side of it.
Let me just reposition over here.
Yeah, right. I was leaning on my right side. Now I'll lean on my left. I still got the exact same view. Yeah. So, that's just why I look at it. But back those two movies, that's when I realized that all these other movies, for the most part, sucked. And I just wanted them to be gobbled up. And I hate the idea of the merger, because now Disney is it was already this huge monopoly. And now it's even worse. I hate that idea. I just want the characters to be gobbled up, the characters in and of themselves. And I want the exact same thing with Spider-Man. I just want that to be brought back so that we could just be done. And now we know that all of these amazing characters will be good to going forward. But as far as DC just has to get their act together. And now with AT&T coming in, and I want you, like, this is the only thing I really wanted to talk about with the Dan DiDio thing. I just had that interview with Russell and Pace on Wednesday, and they were both like, "Oh, his name is actually DiDio." I'm like, "Oh, wow!" So there's been some people saying it right, and that was not me. I was like Didio, but what
I actually
happened?
thought that's what it was for the longest time.
Right, until Wednesday night. So I was that many days old. So
I know a thing now.
I know a thing now. I just learned a thing. But with AT&T coming in, I look at it as they care so little for this. I know the whole Bob Iger leaving and Bob Chapek coming in. I don't think that Bob Iger is taken out. The guy's made way too much money. I actually wrote down some things. The Marvel purchase, which is the biggest box office purchase ever, for only $4.24 billion in 2009. They've got the highest selling movies of all time.
And they've made that money back like 10 times over by now.
I mean, $4 lousy billion. Like that's nothing. That's Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and the first Avengers movie. Done. Conversation over. That made them even. They still got 20 other movies. You know what I'm saying? So far.
Like we haven't even mentioned Endgame.
Yeah. He did the Fox merger for $71 billion in 2018. Holy crap, the library that they pulled in. Lucasfilm purchase for $4.05 billion in 2012. I don't care what they've done with it. I don't care the Kathleen Kennedy thing. I'm saying he bought Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and Boba Fett for $4.05 billion. Holy crap.
It's not just that they acquired these things. It's also that another studio can't be making things that are going to hog all of the money from them. So acquiring them is one part of it. But now the December movie schedule won't have anything to compete with Star Wars.
Yeah.
What else do you get?
He did the Sony deal for Spider-Man. He did the Disney Plus in 2019, which is already making them millions of dollars, going back to Titus O'Neil again. He did all these new parks and new real estate deals for the Disney theme parks. He did Disneyland Shanghai in 2016. He bought Pixar Films in 2006 for $7.4 billion. When prior to that, they were like, oh yeah, they're kind of partnered with us. Now they own them. You know what I'm saying? So they can't go
$7 billion?
$7.4 billion. He did the ESPN launch in 2018. I know Chillmonger, you especially, you're just like, yes, ESPN. But I mean, like, this is all the stuff that Bob Iger has done just recently. You know what I'm saying? So no, they weren't getting rid of him. He stepped down. And he still got 22 months to help Bob Chapek in, who Bob has mostly only done stuff for the Disney theme parks. He's done other stuff too, but for the most part, Freudian slip, he's mostly just been in the theme parks business, you know? Yeah. So he's just going to expand and do all these other really cool things. But so, and like, I mean, if you have a CEO, if you're working in a business, okay, forget about the customers of the business. If you're working in an office building and a new company comes in and it's like, oh, we just bought you. Hey, CEO, you're fired. No, there is no crossing over period. There is no blending in period. You're just fired. Get the hell out. That kills morale. That crushes morale. And the only reason why they would do that, if they were like, we're just going to sell, you guys keep on working, doing what you're doing. You don't need a CEO right now, to start looking for a new job, because that business, they're about to just, merge that business with something else or whatever. And they're not keeping you, like, you're done. You know that. AT&T comes in and that's what they do to Dan DiDio. Dude, they do not care. They've got 2 squirts to give for the DC universe, the comic book industry right now. They do not care about it because the movies did not make them money. They do not see, so they look at it as, they're not superhero fans. They're like, Superman, it was a cute comic book when I was a kid. Saying I like the Richard Donner one. They probably don't even know that Richard Donner is the guy who made the original Superman movie. They look at it as, Marvel has better characters than DC because look, your movies failed. You're not making us money, so we don't care. Oh, you already have this Jim Lee guy? Cool. He'll be able to handle things. You know what Jim Lee said? He just said recently, oh, what are you going to do about, the running the business now? You're the only publisher right now. He was like, yeah, basically I'm just going to lean on the talents of all of the staff here. So what do we need you for?
That kind of sounds good, though.
That kind of sounds good.
Empower my writers.
No. That's really not what he said.
No.
Because I want you to think about this. If I hire you to run a business and you say, I'm pretty much just going to take the advice of the staff and do whatever, what exactly do I need you for?
Basically,
right? You have no ideas. You've got nothing. You've got zero to add to the company. Why am I even going to pay you this money? So that doesn't do a lot for me at all. This means you're going to have a bunch of writers and editors running wild, doing pretty much whatever they're trying to, and there's nobody who's going to be able to rein them in. Jim Lee has no freaking idea what he's doing. I know that's a bold and rude statement to say. This is a picture of me. Not giving two squirts either. He doesn't know what he's doing. You don't say, I'm just going to, those were his exact words in a quote. I'm going to lean on my, on the talents of my staff. Are you kidding me? So, yeah, I don't know that DC is dead necessarily, but AT&T does not care about DC Comics. No. And there is a good chance that they could be sold. I have zero doubt about that whatsoever. The staff apparently is going to try to not let that happen, but Jim Lee's a guy who created Image Comics. He'd go back, he'd go and do something else. Wildstorm, saying all that stuff. He'll go and he'll do something else. He's not worried. I'm sure he's got a very big nest egg. Let's be realistic. What has the guy done so far? Nothing. There is not one single project that has come out where it didn't have Dan Didio's name on it. Like, oh yeah, and we're going to do this. Good or bad, like it or hate it. At least he was doing something. And Jim Lee, what's Jim Lee been attached to? Oh yeah, I made an appearance at Fan Expo and I charged $200, $250, whatever it was, for a signature. Damn. Way to be the, one of the publishers. Yeah. DC Comics ain't looking so good right now.
No. There's a reason why I've kind of backed away from DC Comics. Like I've had a hard time even keeping interest in any of the stuff that they have coming out. Like I'm interested in Death Metal, if for no other reason than the fact that it's a sequel to one of the comics that got me back into comics. But otherwise, I'm good.
I hope Sony picks them up if they're even interested in it, because they all want to do these superhero movies with these hype universes. Get rid of Spider-Man and then do the DC thing.
They won't get rid of Spider-Man.
No. Spider-Man's too much money.
You'll see Spider-Man and Batman. You'll see Spider-Man swimming under the sea with freaking SpongeBob and Aquaman. I promise you, that's what you're going to see. Yeah, you'll see less of Spider-Man in the Marvel Universe than you've ever seen before if they get their hands on the DC products. Nah, that won't work at all. And at the end of the day, the only reason why DC wouldn't go to Marvel is because there would have to be a copyright. I'm going to get a little bit political only because it's necessary to understand this. Trump has zero regulation interests. For the love of God, he's got zero regulation interests. And some of the people on it, like Steve Mnuchin, is one of the executive producers of Batman vs. Superman, Suicide Squad, all these movies like that. So, what I'm saying? If Marvel says, hey, we'd be interested in buying the DC Comics property, you can be assured that the Trump administration would not say no, because that would break copyrights. It would be good. So whoever comes next, that would be an issue. So if Disney was going to do that, right now is the time to strike. And that could possibly happen.
I would trust Disney, like for the sake of creativity. I trust them owning DC just because we've got CB Cebulski, who seems to know what he's doing. So far, he's been doing pretty okay since he's taken over. No? Yes?
I preferred Monday Night Wars to WCW myself, but what happened once they were bought?
Okay. It could happen.
Yeah, but everything is in the book. I will say some of my favorite comics have kind of popped up in the wake of CB Cebulski taking over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think anything's like inherently like just bad right now. I mean, there's no all new, all different going on. Marvel Fresh Start was actually kind of a half, even though I don't like the idea of relaunches. That was kind of a nice way of creating stories that newer readers could just jump into and not have to dive back into God only knows what just to even have a clue what's going on. But yeah, that's about all I got.
The numbering from Fresh Start is still continuing, and I think Amazing Spider-Man's been new reader friendly every chance it gets.
Yeah, I think Axel Alonso was more about the gimmicks. He was a gimmicks match guy. going to the wrestling quotes again. He was like, "Oh, DC did the lenticular covers for those 4 issues of the Button with 2 with the Flash, 2 with Batman in issue 25 and all that stuff. Let's do lenticular covers for all of our comics." You know what I'm saying? And DC is doing a bunch of variant covers. Let's make 1 billion variant covers. You know what I'm saying? Oh, they're doing this. Let's do that. They're doing this. Let's do that. When I was in Saudi Arabia at the time, when the Miss Marvel thing happened, the Kamala Khan thing happened. Great idea. Coincidentally enough, at the same time, the Jason Aaron was doing the Lady Thor thing. I think it was a good idea. It obviously sold. They're both making really good money. But, in fact, they're both about to be either a Disney Plus TV series or an actual movie. But when Axel Alonso just gave the go-ahead for everybody to make brand new characters but take the legacy names and whatnot, it's a bit of an overkill. And you actually also started Comicsgate, so I'm going to say that you really screwed up in a major way. I'm just saying. I'm just going to put that up. I'll leave that there, and I'm going to walk over here now.
No, I agree with you on that one. That's
he wasn't
that
really
whole situation. You don't always tell people that what Marvel did, like making all those new characters, or not all new characters, but like passing all those torches at once.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the torch passing was bad. I just think they shouldn't have done it all at once.
Exactly.
Because if you really want to be brutally honest, and this is something I constantly rail on people for, but a lot of the stuff that Marvel gets shit on for on a regular basis, DC is equally as guilty of. However, the difference is DC does it in such a way that people don't notice it. Like they don't pay it as much attention. Like it's still bad. Like people always say, "Oh, well, DC doesn't just willy-nilly change characters' races or pass torches." Like, dude, DC has the most legacy characters.
Wallace West.
Yeah, I was gonna say Wallace West. Was it Ryan Choi? I mean, just it's. Oh, I forgot. Well, I don't mind this one. Actually, I really like Natasha Irons. But once again, you have Natasha Irons as Steel, and she's had multiple names.
What about the Shanghai or Hong Kong Justice League?
Exactly. Oh, Super Dash Man.
Yeah, we're going to put a hyphen in there like Spider-Man.
Yeah, just like...
look, how many times did they change over freaking Dr. Fate?
Too many. I don't even remember exactly how many there are anymore now.
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, I mean, come on. And at the end of the day, also with the Green Lanterns, I mean, I don't know. I could get into it, but yeah, they've done it also, but they didn't go and label, "Hey, listen, let's do all new, all different. We'll just change everything." That was
5G.
A horrible road.
Well, that's the thing. That's exactly what. That's what 5G is, at least on paper, what it sounds like.
Yeah.
I hope that they pull this off. I mean, they don't pull this off. I hope they just go through with it, and then everyone goes, "Oh, DC's saying save my money this week. Okay, cool. I won't be buying not Batman. I won't be buying not Superman." See what happens. Because at least when Marvel did their thing, you could get the unworthy Thor. You could get a Captain America book that wasn't Sam Wilson, but was actually Steve Rogers. This time, they're just going to what? They're going to go into the future and things are happening.
Yeah.
Okay. So watch people not pay money and just sit on their hands. They'll get the new read Hours of 10 or Swords of 10 Swords. That one.
Ten of Swords. We're just gonna like. Can you make mine Marvel this week?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know that's the thing with Oh God. The whole like okay, so you got like 5G. That was the whole thing with Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder said he didn't want his death metal being anywhere near 5G, because if they do 5G, it would screw up what he's trying to do, because his stories are very death metal has already been announced as being very Wonder Woman centric, and he wants Diana. He doesn't want a new Wonder Woman, and it's very clear that the Superman he wants is Superman. He wants Clark, and he wants Batman. He wants Bruce. Now, for me personally, I would not be upset if they pushed all this shit forward and said, hey, let's give Dick Grayson or Tim Drake or somebody the mantle. You don't make a new character, just give it to somebody who's already established. Or say, hey, Donna Troy, you've been called up to the main roster. or hey, I don't know, maybe give Wally his freaking job back. I don't know. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I have a Wally West is a sore spot for me on when it comes to because I always get really irritated when people are like, oh, Barry's my Flash. But it's like, okay, so when were you reading Flash? And it's like, well, I was reading between 1986 and around roughly like 2000. He wasn't your Flash. Stop lying. He was not your Flash. You're lying. You are lying through your teeth. You were lying, and everything you say is a lie. Because Barry was dead. Mm-hmm. Wally was the Flash.
Barry was actually my Flash, but I am older. I'm 44 years old.
You were reading Flash when Barry was the Flash.
Yeah. But at the same time, I still really liked Wally, so I'm okay with it. You know what I'm saying? I could roll with punches. I didn't have a huge I loved the story when Captain America was no longer Captain America, because who took over? Johnny Walker.
Oh God, jeez.
People forget about that. John Walker took over the mantle. He was Captain America. He had the shield. Cap had to get an adamantium shield and a black costume. He got the adamantium shield during the freaking Armor Wars from Tony Stark. Like, he wasn't Captain America anymore. And Johnny Walker is a fun one, because why do I say Johnny Walker instead of John Walker? Sounds like an alcoholic beverage. His original name is actually Jack Daniels.
Ooh, wow.
And he wasn't even supposed to be the guy who replaced him. That was a last minute thing. They're like, oh, let's just name him this, or no, don't do Jack Daniels. Let's instead do John Walker. It's like, it's the same damn thing. It's like, no, it sounds a little bit better. Anyway, because they rushed the character, because originally it was supposed to be Black Crow. I have 10 things about Black Crow, or Black Crow explained in a minute on my channel. Native American character, totally freaking awesome character. They were going to make him Captain America, and then at the last minute they chickened out, like, no, let's actually just make it a blonde hair, blue-eyed guy, and just boom, do that instead. And they used that Power Brokers Incorporated thing that the Thing was dealing with in the unlimited weight class wrestling, whatever the heck that thing was called. Like, they just threw a whole bunch of things together really quick. But I mean, Cap was changed. Nobody complained when that happened. It was a really good story. Cap was wanted by the government. They really changed that thing up. He became an international criminal. Imagine that. Like, they're just people who are going to complain about things, and they don't really understand the way that comics have always been. So yeah, whatever. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, that the thing that's really killing me right now about, like, that's the obvious ploy where the all new, all different went wrong. But Axel Alonso, like the way I just described him, is the way that I'm also describing Jim Lee, because he's the guy who's just gonna be like, oh, you want to do a bunch of things? How about everybody do that? Let's try that, because he's not the guy who's gonna really think and be a leader or anything like that. Like, DC Comics is gonna wind up falling into freaking disarray pretty soon.
I feel like they're already kind of there. I feel like they've already been kind of like. I feel like they've already been kind of trying to take the water, like getting the buckets ready to get the water out of the ship, but like it hasn't like just in its little stuff. It hasn't. The ship hasn't quite began sinking yet. They're still able to get some of the water out, but I feel like it's just a matter of time before this all blows up in somebody's face.
Yeah.
And I think, AT&T, they're definitely going to try and get as far away from it as humanly possible before it bites them in the rear. But
I don't think anything's going to bite them in the rear.
Yeah.
I think they're literally just like, hey, if you literally stop showing any kind of profit whatsoever, do you realize how many years of comic book stories we've got? If no other Superman comic was ever written ever again by an official DC, Warner Brothers, AT&T, whatever, like there would still be enough to make movies forever.
Yeah,
that's true. That is actually really scarily true. Yeah. Part of me wonders though, like if at some point, and I'm not saying that I want this to happen, but part of me wonders if at some point, like the comics will just dry up or disappear, and that's what they will just do. Just say, yeah, we'll just make movies from now. We're good.
That could happen.
But I don't think it will.
They should do what I suggested a few podcasts ago, and on Free Comic Book Day, make a comic that actually takes place in the MCU, and people would have to go and read it to understand what happens next.
Good. It could take novel form. It could take action, sound. What's it called? The audiobooks, Audible. Those things.
But that's something that Star Wars is doing right, where everything is part of the same story. They don't have multiple universes in Star Wars. It's all one.
Yeah, now they had to rein it in by getting rid of the EU, which pissed a lot of people off, but poop on you.
I mean, I will be the first one to admit, as a person who used to read Star Wars novels and comics back in the day, I mean, they weren't all great. So I mean, there's some I'm like, I probably would have kept that, but maybe not everything. But
yeah,
some of it has been kind of slowly getting worked back in, but I don't know.
Well, if they canonize the good things and keep the bad things away, and 100%. Just make new video game. Like, who's that new video game character who's a Jedi Fallen?
You're talking about Fallen Order. That's I forget his
something with a C.
Kyle Kestis.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. Like,
good.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah. Like, well,
that's new.
Thrawn.
That's new. Exactly. That's where I was going to go. Thrawn.
Yeah, Thrawn. He was
that. That was amazing. I probably have those books. Oh, I thought I had them up front, but anyway, those are. Oh, I do.
Oh, there you go.
So
boom.
Everything you read in Thrawn kind of counts in the Rebel story. That's the same Thrawn.
Yeah, they're like, boom, right there.
Boom there. Part 2.
Yep.
Part 3. Amazing books. Amazing books.
Oh yeah.
There's a bunch of really cool characters I'd like to see in here.
Oh yeah. And see, the thing is, Thrawn is a good character, and I was actually sad that they made him not canon anymore. And then they're like, no, he's back. He's back. We'll put him back in there. He's actually good.
That means Shadows of the Empire could show up again. I would love to see that story. Shoot.
Anything dealing with the other side of the galaxy, the whole like anything dealing with like criminal, the outer, like all that stuff, like the criminal underbelly, the stuff like that. You have my attention.
I'd like to see the Yu Zhan Vong.
Yeah, like I'm tired. You can have Jedis in the story, but I'm tired of them being the main focus. Like I think that's why Mandalorian resonated with me.
Can we have Rogue One? Like, can we have more of Rogue One? Can we have Rogue Squadron? You know what I'm saying? I would love to see the X-Wing Squadron going. I would like to see some stories of young Wedge Antilles,
I think there's a market for space dogfights.
Yeah.
Those like, because that was, I think that's something.
Buck Rogers.
Yeah. Like, just seeing ships just whoop, 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 whoop. There's a market for that.
There's also a market of Jedi and Jedi fighting with lightsabers, which we don't really get. Those last 5 movies, how many of them had 2 Jedis facing each other with lightsabers, were actually skilled, using the Force, doing some stuff we saw in Revenge of the Sith, or at least Phantom Menace?
I think you could do it. I don't want it to be like my thing is I'm just tired of the focus being on them. Like the Jedi.
And I'm saying if you're gonna focus on them, do them right and give them everything, and then we'll go on to
you realize how old that would get, though, right? Like everybody had a lightsaber, in those first 3 movies for the most part. It just quickly became kind of old. And I mean, that lightsaber fight at the end was of Revenge of the Sith. To me, it was gorgeously choreographed. But they what do you call it? George Lucas himself did not know how to end that. I've got the high ground, Anakin. Okay, so in this case, F the Force. The high ground is what defeats the Force. That's what you're arguing. I've got the high ground, Anakin. You literally ran out of ideas, and you gave me a high ground moment.
Well, and George Lucas has notoriously been listed as a very piss poor storyteller, which like he's good at building a world. Yeah. He's good at creating a world that you will be interested in, but he's not good at telling a story in it.
Yeah.
And
he's on the record admitting that he lied to the Phantom Menace crew that he's got Steven Spielberg in his ear all the time talking to, I was just got off the phone with him, man, and he was saying that, this idea that everybody's saying is bad, that it's a good idea. And it's like, yeah, great, good job. So that made people say, okay, well, if Steven Spielberg says it's good, I guess I'm wrong then. It wasn't Spielberg. It was just Lucas, and Lucas is not Spielberg.
Yeah. And here I am enjoying the first 3 prequel era movies. I love them all.
That's cool. There's nothing wrong with liking them.
No,
and they've definitely got their points. Qui-Gon Jinn, great thing. But do we really think that Darth Maul should have been killed at the end of the first one? No. I mean, because we replaced him with Count effing Dooku. I'm sorry, those Hammer film Dracula movies were great, but I don't really want to see Count freaking Dooku. He just didn't. He lived. He crossed over to 2 movies, but Darth Maul didn't. What?
And then they ended up having to retcon that and just say, "Oh no, he's actually was still alive this whole time. He's just
because enough people were agreeing with me."
I mean, he's a good character, and he was interesting. That's what George Lucas does. That's what George Lucas does. I don't like. He creates interesting characters, but he's not good at telling a story about them. So instead of telling a story about them, he just says, just kill him.
There are a bunch of really cool things like Boba Fett. We all fell in love with Boba Fett, and then you had him burped up by the freaking Sarlacc. What? So yeah. Let's move on. I think this we just beat this one to death. The first mutant has already been named for the Marvel movies. It's going to be in Shang-Chi.
Oh. Now who is this going to be?
WizKid.
Really?
Yeah. It's going to be so low key that most of us are going to just bypass this and not even realize this happened. WizKid is going to be the first mutant who shows up in a Marvel movie, and it's going to be in they've already named the character. This is Takahashi, like all this good stuff. Like it's supposed to be him. Will he actually have his mutant powers? I don't know. He's saying, but this is what they're going to be doing. Type in WizKid space Earth -616.
Takeshi Matsuya.
Yep. Yeah, I couldn't remember his last name.
Oh, they're actually going to go that route? I mean, I'm not mad at him.
Me neither. Great way to low key. Oh, he was already in there. This is like for speculators. If this was an issue where it's like, this is Hella Risen issue number 3. This is Batman number 89. Saying.
Well, I will say I find this interesting for no other reason than the fact that this will finally make people shut up.
No,
about who's going to be the first mutant.
We want to keep speculating.
We want it to be Rogue.
Yeah. Well, no, because everybody's like, oh, no, I want Rogue to be the first mutant. I want her to show up at Captain Marvel 2 and steal her powers and kick Carol's butt so she goes away and Brie Larson doesn't get work anymore. Like, can we? No.
Does it matter who is first? I just want them, whoever it is.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I'm fine with whoever they choose because I feel like you should probably start to, at least in some way, shape, form, or fashion, normalize mutants as characters. So that way we kind of, it's kind of like how they did with the MCU in the beginning. It's like, okay, we started off with a regular human. He had no superpowers. He was just a really smart guy who created a suit of armor that you could let him fly and shoot laser beams. And it's like, well, now we're going to go over to,
Hulk.
We got Hulk, and he's a guy, he's a scientist, but he gets all big and puffed up when he gets mad.
Okay, back to Iron Man 2.
Yeah, there's like Iron Man 2, and it's like, well, here's more regular guy in a power armor, and guess what he's fighting? He's fighting another guy in a power armor, just like he did in the last movie.
With whips.
And guess what? This guy has more power. He has drones that he can also fight Iron Man with. See, we're getting somewhere.
And a bird. Amen.
Yes, but actually, yeah, I think Sam Rockwell was great in that movie. I wish they actually kept him around more because he was kind of hilarious.
I hope so.
But like, then you get to Captain America. Oh, well, he's a normal guy until he gets the super soldier serum, and now he's Captain America. It's like, oh, he's big and strong. And then it's like, well, now we're getting then we got Thor. Oh, now we're getting to gods. Oh, see, there we go. We would get into these gods, and
but my all God. Those little hints, those little end credit scenes and whatnot. It's like,
and by the way, guess what? They're all coming together.
Yeah,
and it's like, and that's kind of how I wish they would do, like, kind of just slowly, like, okay, Shang-Chi, you introduce WizKid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, he's a mutant. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, well, then maybe okay, what's the next movie after Shang-Chi? Is it going to be what, Thor Love and Thunder?
I think, yeah, something like that, isn't it?
I think remember. I want to say Shang-Chi comes out first.
It's going to be Doctor Strange, then Spider-Man, then Thor.
Okay, so I got one for you then. Doctor Strange.
Magic.
Yeah, have Magic just kind of maybe not even give her anything big to
mention Limbo.
Just mention Limbo. Just be like, oh
yeah,
there's we can't stop here. This like kind of treat it like a Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Just have Doctor like, we can't stop here. This is Limbo country. Something like that. I'm being funny. I'm not being
but you see what you're doing is you're thinking about how the story is going to fit these mutants into it. You're not just saying, yeah, Professor X has to be first, but there's no space for Professor X. We happen to be in New York for Spider-Man. Maybe that's what we'll get in New York Mutants, maybe.
Or you know what? Start having okay, when Spider-Man, here, I got one for you. Okay, so Spider-Man, he's spoilers if you have not seen Spider-Man Far From Home. If you haven't seen it yet, you probably weren't going to see it.
I'll be right back.
Wait a minute. I was like, oh damn. No, okay, so Spider-Man, he's a criminal now. What if people start what if Jay Jonah starts speculating? Oh, well, you know what I've heard? I've heard about these mutants.
Oh,
I wonder if he's one of those filthy muties.
These menaces.
And then just start and of course, we know Spider-Man's not a mutant, but just start in just organic ways, start just kind of mentioning it so then people start getting interested. People start going, oh, this is something that's coming. Okay, this is interesting. Okay. It's kind of like, case in point, the way that they did with Mysterio in one of the Spider-Man tropes, they had him say, oh, I'm from Earth 616. And then people started like speculating, like, oh my God, they just confirmed there's a multiverse. Oh my God, what Earth? Oh, like that, but just pay it off better.
Yeah, they kind of did that Mandarin effect with him.
Yeah, they kind of did. I don't know how I feel about that. Good Lord. But no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, just long-term booking, I think, is always a good solution to tackling stuff like this, and don't just throw Wolverine at me right off the rip.
I don't want Captain America to be walking and all of a sudden Wolverine jumps at him from a tree. It's like, oh my God. No, I don't need that.
No, God, no. Like I will say this. If you say, let's say case in point, let's say that you had another Captain America movie. I know that probably won't happen for a while. That we'll just have the shows. But you never know. But let's say we bring back Chris Evans. And he's Old Man Rogers or whatever, or something like that. And he's just like, oh, well, back in my day.
There was a Canadian fellow.
What if instead we bring in Isaiah Bradley?
I am not actually. Okay, so it's funny you say that because I think we actually are going to get him. This was my segue. Oh, there you go. That's why I love you. That's why I love you. That's why I love you, because you bring up Isaiah Bradley
too, man. In case anybody doesn't know, that's actually how Ernie ends all of his videos too. So
it felt right at the
and
time.
Ultra.
Yeah, I gotta get the plus Ultra in there, man.
So Captain America's actually Falcon and Winter Soldier TV series actually seems to have a casting call for character fitting Isaiah Bradley's description, which is pretty damn cool. So Captain America, Red, White, and Black, Truth. Boom! All of a sudden, we can actually have Isaiah Bradley, which means we could also wind up having Battlestar.
So it's case in point. What did Kevin Feige said? These shows are supposed to set up future characters for appearances in the MCU. This is just a way to introduce people, and I think they may have already done it. I think they may have. I think they may have found their guy because I heard Carl Lumbly. Has been cast, and I don't know what they're going to use him for, but if they go that route, I would not be upset. If the former Mantis got his opportunity to be Black Captain America, I wouldn't be upset about it. And I just said Mantis, and that's a show probably only 2 people remember.
I'm like Mantis. The healing chick from Guardians of the Galaxy?
No.
The Celestial Madonna from the comics?
No, there's a 1994 series that Carl Lumbly starred in called Mantis, and it was about a guy. He was basically Black Batman. But he was in a wheelchair, and he invented a suit, like an exoskeleton that allowed him to walk. And he created all these gadgets and stuff like that, and he basically used it to fight crime. Nice. And but it was a show that came. I think it ran 1994 to 1996, and it was decent enough show. It was out probably roughly around the same time as like shows like Sliders, and it was very 90s. But yeah, Carl Lumbly, he went on from that to do like tons of other stuff. But probably people remember more recently from like Supergirl, because he plays John Jones' father.
Okay.
But yeah, I would not be surprised if that is he's been cast for. They haven't said who he is playing, but I wouldn't surprise if that was the case.
You heard about the Allison Brie casting?
Well, it's funny because that's something that I know a lot of people were like really upset at that. It's like, why not just get Allison Brie? There are people saying like, why do you say you're looking for an Allison Brie-like character? Because they do that all the time. They just don't announce that it's like that. We're looking for someone who's going to be like, I don't know, Shannon Doherty. I don't know that many actresses. So Shannon Doherty from Charmed and Beverly Hills 90210 comes to my mind. Anyway, we're looking for someone like this. It's like, well, that person exists. They're still out there right now. But are you saying that you want that person? Maybe. But we definitely want someone like that. Them. So they do that all the time. So by saying we want someone like Allison Brie for She-Hulk.
No. But didn't you see the interview with James Corden? No?
No, I did not see that.
The volume wasn't working for me. It was like really low. So I'm like, I'm not interested in this. But I did read what she said about it. She basically says
she says it. It's the way she answers like that 4th question that he asks her, where he goes, so would you want to play She-Hulk? She's like, well, it's either yes or no, right? Like you can't confirm, you can't. That's when you know that something's up.
When you see that red dot start like scrolling past her forehead,
and like she's about to be assassinated, she announces it.
She's like,
I think you're reading into it too much, Joe. Because, like, honestly, I don't know, man. Why would the casting call even go out like that?
Watch the interview again. They'll be like, this is so funny because I always auditioned for the Anne Hathaway type, and now I got an Allison Brie type, and that's her talking. And then James asks her about it, and she gets really, I wonder if I could say this or not. It's so telling.
Maybe that's the way that she was. I don't know. Like I said, I saw the actions and whatnot. It was only like a 1.5-minute thing. I don't even think it was 2 minutes long. But I saw the body language and I didn't see anything particular like that. Maybe if I heard it, maybe it'd be a different story. But for me, it's like maybe she was also thinking, well, do I say that yes, I would like it, and then if I don't get it, all of a sudden I look like I'm a loser and nobody's ever going to hire me again? So yeah. It could be a lot of things. It's hard to really look into people's character like that, their actions. But we already talked about how oh, for crying out loud, William Hurt, who plays General Thunderbolt Thaddeus Ross, is going to be in the She-Hulk. He's already, been said he's going to be in it, and they're already talking about bringing in the Red Hulk. They're also planning on doing a Thunderbolts TV series, right? So this only makes perfect sense that they would introduce the idea of him becoming or getting something with the Red Hulk in there, and then moving on to that TV series and being the Red Hulk. So there's a lot
of
of
synergy.
Yeah, the synergy.
And Thunderbolts, I got James Gunn directing it.
You think he's going to direct it?
I wouldn't mind seeing it.
I could see him doing it. I can see, and as a TV series too. Yeah, I'm down for seeing that. Is it supposed to be a TV series or a movie? I actually don't remember that.
It's about I think they're going to do a series.
Oh, Disney Plus. So
I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, me neither. What do you call it? The last thing I have to talk about is Superman Red Sun. Did anybody see it yet? This animated?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Is it already out?
It just came out 2 days ago on digital. It'll be a couple weeks before it comes to DVD. That's usually how we get these things, but I was thinking about just, getting the digital. I don't know how to do it, but I'm sure there's I know that you can get it by the DC streaming service with DC Universe, DCU thing. But I'm not doing that thing again. They still haven't made it available in Canada. So,
really?
Yeah. So I had a friend who had it in America. I had two friends actually who had it in America, and I was just using my VPN and their password to watch, Doom Patrol and stuff like that. But now they don't have it anymore. They're like, it's stupid. It's there's no use for it. So, hey, that's another thing with AT&T. They see the massive, wild success of Disney Plus, and they see how much of a big failure DCU is, and it's like, you're not money. So they're wondering, like, is it just bad management, or are these characters just useless? And yes, we know it's just bad management, but these guys just don't get it.
I mean, I feel like any one of the three of us could book or just kind of like just book the layout of all this. Yeah. And it would probably go infinitely better. and I'll be the first to admit, I have no experience in business or marketing.
I do.
See, there you go. See, that's one piece of the pie right there. So we run stuff by
I have my bachelor's in business management with a specialty in marketing. I've actually worked in the corporate sector before. I've merged companies before, not huge companies, but small company, two small companies, a Canadian and a Saudi Arabian company. So I've got the international aspect. And I'm just saying, I'm available. I will stop teaching English to kids in China to come over. I will find a babysitter. I enjoy being a stay-at-home dad, but for this, I will be the Kevin Feige of DC.
There you go. Done.
And I have 398 subscribers.
First off, we got to change all of that. But at the same time, that's one of the reasons. Turn that around. That is one of the reasons why I did pick you, though, Chill. One, because you're obviously going to, expand in a major way. Talent recognizes talent and vice versa. And both of us are looking at you like, dude. So, yeah, you're one of the smaller channels. I'm like a medium-sized channel. Blerd is one of the bigger channels. And literally, it's like all these different aspects of where we're at in the comic book world, So, yeah, it's actually one of the reasons why I picked you to actually be in this podcast.
I thank you.
But of course, I think that the fans thank you also. Yeah, we didn't challenge each other in this one. What's up with that, man? Yeah. There was no challenge in this.
No, we agreed every time we challenged. I think I brought up something.
I feel dirty right now.
No. Remember when I said, how have the movies helped the comic book industry? And then you told me Marvel will never go bankrupt. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, see, you agreed with me. That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, this was a very dirty episode. Oh man,
it's like, what are you thinking?
Who, if you were American, who would you vote for in the Democratic primary?
Oh man, the Democratic primary. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Short answer is Bernie Sanders.
Fuck, we agree with everything, dude.
Damn. Okay, let me ask you this, Ed. Who would you want to drop out right now?
Steyer already dropped out. I'd like to see Klobuchar
Bloomberg.
because she's annoying.
Actually, yeah, I'm gonna say I agree with both of you because I find both Bloomberg completely useless and Klobuchar is very
He could
annoying.
still potentially win with that amount of money behind him.
That
Klobuchar,
just
the
scares
problem
me.
that I have is her and Bernie Sanders are the two most honest politicians up there. They're both
Mhm.
talking about what they genuinely believe in. You could tell there's no disingenuous nature in
Mhm.
anything that either of them are saying. The problem is that she is such a centrist, a moderate, somebody that we don't need anymore, that that honesty is cute, but at least we know who
Yeah.
you are. Thank you for not lying
Mhm.
about it. Goodbye.
I think
Yeah.
if
You
you
are the
want
weakest link.
Sanders, if you need Sanders to win, she's gonna split the women's vote with Elizabeth Warren. So that's
Mhm.
Neither of them
her.
are going to split anything. Bernie Sanders has more support amongst everybody nationwide. Maybe not individual
Hey,
state by
if you
state.
were, yeah, if you were to not win this and the super delegates say someone else, would you
I'm not voting
advise
for
him?
anybody else.
But would you advise him to just run independently?
No, he would definitely lose.
Yeah, because people
If Ralph Nader can't win as an independent, then nobody can.
there's a stigma for
Yes.
running as an independent that people feel that, oh, well, if I vote independent, no one else is going to vote independent, so I'm just throwing my vote away. That's the mentality that people have, and I don't think that's a good mentality to
Yes,
have. Just saying
right.
that that's that
It's not, but
is
it is the mentality.
yeah. Mhm.
Bernie Sanders won New Hampshire, but Pete Buttigieg lied and faked and bought out the app, the shadow app that was used for the voting there in that caucus, and he was able to claim a victory, even though, and it took 3 days for them to realize, or for them to acknowledge Bernie actually won that, but it's too
Mhm.
late. He already claimed the victory, and that
Yeah.
propelled his numbers
This
when they
is
went to New Hampshire.
this is more entertaining than WWE. The
Yeah.
storylines of there's a guy who's being
He
worked
pulled out a
against
foreign object.
Kofi Kingston, and then finally he wins the title at Mania. All I want is for everyone to have that universal health care. There's no other candidate offering that.
No.
Is there?
Yeah, not truly. No, there's not.
No.
And he seems to say it in every debate. So,
Buttigieg is always offering Medicare for some.
Medicare for all who want it,
Who want
which is
it,
just
yeah.
the biggest line of crap ever.
Which is basically just garbage.
Elizabeth Warren was just as progressive, or at least on the surface, but then she started hiring Obama staffers to help her out. And they started advising to get away from the progressive message. And that's when all of a sudden she was no longer number one in the polls. Now she's at polling like 13% nationwide, which is just sad.
Which basically puts her at like a distant, like what, 4th or something like that?
5th or 6th.
Yeah. Which candidate is from the Democrats is going to tax billionaires more?
Oh, Sanders.
Yeah. Because the thing
he's already laid out his plans. He's shown exactly how much he's going to tax. Well, he hasn't shown how much, but he has shown all of the things that he's taxing. Yeah. I forget which one it is. One of them is coming from the people who make 60,000, like households that make 60,000 or more. I forget what that one is, but everything else is taxing the rich for this, taxing estate tax, taxing Wall Street speculation, taxing sale of art, and all these little loopholes that rich people use to make money.
Because Bezos didn't pay $1 in federal taxes.
Bezos did, but Amazon didn't.
Okay, yeah. Amazon, my bad.
Yeah, and even then, Bezos just cheated, and he put a bunch of his money overseas, and that's actually one of the taxes that Bernie wants to do. Also, if you want to bring money in from overseas that you have in an offshore account, but that you gained in America, and we can see that through the tax records, you get taxed on that also. So either keep your money in circulation in the States or not.
Why are people not going to vote for this guy? I truly don't get it. He seems like a pretty good candidate. Yeah. I mean, he could lie like every politician does, and he could not, follow through with this. That's always possible, and I'll never stick up for a politician. But so far, it sounds like he's the right guy. That's just a Canadian.
Been doing this for 40 years. Yeah, but you are a Canadian, And here in Canada, we're not so averse and scared of the word socialism. But Bernie's not even a socialist. He's a democratic socialist.
And there's a difference.
There's a huge difference. He's not talking about giving, taking all the private companies and putting them in the hands of the government. No, he's saying only essential services. Look at how mad people are at Kathleen Wynne here in Ontario. They wound up accidentally voted in the conservative government. They can call it the PC government. No, it's the conservative government. Doug Ford, they wound up voting him in because he made a very good case of, look at the idea that Kathleen Wynne privatized 1% of the, or was it 7%? Either way, it was single digits of the hydroelectric company. Like, she privatized some of that. How dare she? Meanwhile, he's going around trying to privatize everything. He's making cuts everywhere and giving bonuses to the rich, which is the same thing that conservatives all over the world always do. That's what the right wing does.
Strange to me. How could man?
Supply side economics, Reaganomics, trickle down theory. They keep on rehashing the exact same concept. Give tax breaks to the rich and then screw over the poor, because eventually that money will trickle down to the poor, and it's never worked yet since Reagan in the 80s. I'm sorry, it's a failed system. Demonstrably, it's a failed system.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work, and it needs to be let go of. The thing about Bernie is that he is consistent. Yeah. He has said the same thing his entire political career.
40
he stands by
years.
Yep. How many politicians? How many other politicians can say that?
Yeah. This is the part that
none.
This is the part that Rogan makes. Joe Rogan. He's like, dude, all these politicians, you can go back however far you want, or recently, and they've all said something that nobody likes, or they've done something, they've got a record and whatnot. But what can you do with Bernie Sanders?
The 94 crime bill.
Dig anything up. The 94 crime bill was he voted for that, but look at what he did with it. He's the amendment king. He also made it so that women who are beaten and abused by their husbands, they have a way out. Homeless shelter, or shelters, like for homeless, shelters for battered women and things like that, and children. So he's like, listen, we're clearly going to lose this vote, but if you want me to vote for this, and some of the people with me to vote for this, put this in there also. So sometimes he votes for bad bills. Sometimes he makes mistakes, and like there was only one person who voted against the Iraq war, and Bernie Sanders wasn't that person, and he admits it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I still think it's a mistake to call yourself a democratic socialist or any ist or ism or any. Don't classify yourself as nothing but an American. All you got to do is say I'm a Democrat, and that's all you need to do. Because you could let's use comic books as an example, since we're on a comic book podcast. You can say I hate Miles Morales. Okay, that's fair of you to say that you are allowed to have that opinion. If you say I'm a comic skater, then it's like you ruined everything. Like, I took your opinion as valid, and then you went and told me what
not even an opinion. That's a position.
A position, and then you told me your affiliation, and now I can dismiss everything you possibly say because you're anti Miles Morales, because you're a comic skater now. Oh, the F you then. So don't call yourself no socialist, capitalist, anything.
Yeah, I think the problem with that though is the fact that Democrats have a very what's the best way to put this? Democrats are kind of treated as like probably one of the it's treated as a dirty word. At least from like if you talk about like in Republican circles. So like it would
you're down in Memphis, so I mean I get it. You're south of the Bible Belt, for crying out loud.
Oh yeah. Well, Memphis is a speckle of blue in a sea of red. Memphis and Nashville are the only two spots of blue in Tennessee. Memphis and Nashville almost exclusively vote. I mean, we have people who vote Republican, but we almost always skew Democrat.
Yeah, not even majority. It's plurality
Yeah, it just is what it is. But the problem is that like people, probably can maybe treat himself as a democratic socialist probably isn't the best look for some people. But I mean, the thing is, he's honest about who
because they just don't get it.
To obfuscate what he is, just because that would just give people like Bernie is so scandal proof. He's seat proof because he is so consistent. Like the only thing people can say bad about him is that his supporters attack me with facts. Like that's the worst thing people can say about him. And I feel like if he did do that, like if he obfuscated what he was or his positions, I feel like people would use, you told us you were so and so, but you're really like.
Well, people turn around, they try and call him a communist. It's like he's not even a socialist. How are you going to call him a communist also? It's dead obvious to anybody who simply Googles the word. He's not a freaking communist. You know, that's just dirty. And even saying socialist, he's not a socialist. He's a democratic socialist, which means like our fire department is paid by our tax dollars. So are our schools. So is the police department. Hey, let's maybe consider, and so is Social Security. Oh my God, it's in there also. Social Security. Hell, talking to your friends in a social circle, you must be a communist, right? No, at the end of the day, hey, let's also make our hospitals social also. Let's make them into a socialist program also. Because good luck finding. Yeah, good luck finding a Canadian.
Socialist programs already, but
we do plenty, so many, right? But he wants the public services to be social. The water company. Look at what happens. Like most of the water companies are owned by the government, so to speak. They're owned by the people. We have a say in them. But look at the ones that don't, like Flint, Michigan. They're privately owned, and look at that, lead in the water. People can't use the water. That's what happens when you privatize things. They just don't care.
Who's going to pay for all? Oh yeah, the billionaires. Okay, yeah, it's foolproof.
Yeah, pretty much. You know what I'm saying?
Had the plans laid out.
Yeah.
For a long time. Like when people go, because that's the thing, people always ask, oh, well, how are you going to pay for it? Oh, well, how are you going to pay for it? Oh, yeah, how are you going to pay for it?
And when they say, oh, this is how much it's going to cost, they always put it in 10-year plan increments, so it looks 10 times more bloated than it actually is. It's like nobody said how you're going to pay for the tax cuts, and we're all paying for those tax cuts. And they only gave those tax cuts in the cost of how much they were going to cost per year. So the military budget, how come that's always done per year? And how come the soldiers themselves never get raises? What are those billions going towards? Oh, yeah, the military industrial complex. Tony Stark again. Jeez. War profiteers. Come on.
Well, he went good. He went good in 2008. He turned
by the end. He also likes Burger King. Oh crap! Another corporation.
What was it? Ultron quoted Tony Stark as sell weapons to your enemies, sell weapons to your friends, and find out which is which.
Something like
that. that is we are all about spending money on our military. That's it. It is what it is. Whenever you hear Republicans talk about, oh, you're taking money away from our soldiers, that's not what they mean. They're not talking about soldiers.
Nope.
You're taking money away so that we can't buy more weapons. That's what they're talking about. They're never talking about, because if they were actually talking about the soldiers, then the veterans, the veterans hospitals would be in better shape and better able to take care of veterans. Veterans would not be in as bad a shape, and it maybe in some cases wouldn't even need the VA to be better because they would already be taken better care of in the first place. But it's still nice to be able to have a better program for veterans to be taken care of in the event that something happens. But that's the thing, we don't give a shit about thing. We only care about what we can blow up.
Yeah.
As George Carlin said, we're good at bombing brown people.
Yeah, George Carlin is my religion. That he is my religion, like beyond the shadow of a doubt. At the end of the day, we're paying billions of dollars for, $1 million planes and paying for the fuel to go over and to bomb people who are making about $1 per hour, if that. Like, what exactly are we doing? Barack Obama bombed Syria so much that we actually ran out of bombs. How does that happen? And what did he hit that was so important?
I was gonna say, I don't think what was the target? Like, what was the target at the time? Because I feel like we didn't hit whatever it was we were trying to hit.
When you look at the before and after pictures of an area that we bombed so much that we ran out of bombs, and it still looks the same because we didn't hit anything, we weren't trying to hit anything, we're just spending money, that should say something about what we're supporting. So I'm just saying.
Oh no, that's 100. Just I don't know. It just it's upsetting. It is just incredibly upsetting.
And we still can't find anything to disagree with. You know what? I don't think that we're going to be doing any more podcasts. This is just sad. We got to find things that we're going to disagree on.
We probably disagree about Kurt Wagner and Nightcrawler and his new religion thing. I think it's stupid.
Well, I made a whole new story about it. I literally just wrote a 12. Well, not literally. I just told a story of a 12-issue story arc of how I would do it differently in that live chat that I did. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, hey, who's going to go see Candyman?
Me.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. You're not going to see that?
Independence? Nah, I'm a Marvel guy.
All right. This is how it's done. Now I feel like we can end this podcast.
We finally disagreed.
You got 20 seconds to end it before it hits 3 hours.
Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and crew, class dismissed.
Class dismissed.